Warcraft, the Tree of Eternity. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Euphenia's Thoughts. The basic attributes and 2 talents make the Red Dragon's combat power comparable to that of a Terror Wolf, while the 2 skills make the Red Dragon's strategic significance a new level. Euphenia did not expect that the Red Dragon actually had the skill of Durability Aura. This aura that increases both movement speed and attack speed is of great strategic significance in a world where large armies fight. The Explosive Breath gives the Red Dragon a group attack skill, which is simply the integration of the power shooting and shadow arrow skills, and it is even stronger. Euphenia was a little puzzled about the Red Dragon's strength right after birth, but when he thought about the fact that the Red Dragon had absorbed fire element for more than 20 years in the crater, when it was still an egg, he was relieved. Even if it was a pig, it would become very powerful as long as it did not explode after continuously absorbing energy for more than 20 years in such a dense energy place, not to mention the Red Dragon whose bloodline was originally at the top level. This Red Dragon should be the dragon with the purest bloodline in the entire Slays continent. After all, it was hatched from a dragon egg that descended from the world of Warcraft. After a little thought, Euphenia thought that, after absorbing the fire element for so many years, the growth rate of the Red Dragon should be very fast. Generally, a giant dragon can live for about 1,000 years, and the young dragon stage is 10 years, followed by nearly 200 years of growth. When it is about 200 years old, it becomes a young dragon. The long growth period of nearly 200 years is actually for the purpose of accumulating energy. The energy accumulated by this Red Dragon is probably more than the energy needed to enter the young adult stage. After all, before birth is the best time to absorb energy. As long as you can bear it, the energy absorbed before birth for 1 year is equivalent to the energy absorbed after birth for 10 years. This is why the protagonist in YA novels has excellent training effects in the mother's womb. Moreover, when this Red Dragon was still an egg-born body, it was not just passively absorbing energy, but the stone platform rapidly infused it with fire element for more than 20 years. Now the next step for this Red Dragon is to work hard to grow its body. When it grows to the size of a young dragon, it will have the strength of, or even exceed that of an ordinary young dragon. Euphenia believes that this time will not be long. Should we give the Red Dragon a name? The melodramatic plot has appeared again. The name of Little Red is definitely not okay. How about calling it Red? Although Euphenia only scored more than 40 points in English in the college entrance examination, he vaguely remembers that red in English seems to be pronounced as red. Well, let's not dwell on it. From now on, this Red Dragon will be called Red. The Red Dragon is still in its infancy, so naturally it won't have any objections. Although Tyrande has become the mother of the Red Dragon, as Euphenia's creation, she naturally won't question anything, so the name of the Red Dragon is decided. The Red Dragon has been making a lot of noise from the egg to the dragon for a long time. At this time, the battle between the spiky beasts and the centaurs has changed again. The spiky beasts relied on their high-end combat power, which was much stronger than the centaurs. They spent some time to break up the centaurs' formation and bully into the centaurs' long-range troops. For the centaurs' melee units, this battle with the spiky beasts was very frustrating. Not to mention the enemy's elite squad rampaging through their own camp. The thorn halo of the spiky beast leader is still working. Centaur longbowmen and centaur archers are fine. Their long-range attacks will not be rebounded, but the centaur forerunners and centaur laborers are frustrated. Although in terms of level, the centaur forerunner is 1 level higher than the spiky beast barbarian, and the centaur laborer is 1 level higher than the spiky beast scout, and the number is only slightly less. But every time you attack the enemy, you will also suffer some damage, while the enemy will take full damage when hitting you, which is really uncomfortable and makes you want to vomit blood. Fortunately, there is still the long-range support of the centaur longbowmen and centaur archers, which makes the spiky beasts die much more than the centaurs on the low and medium level battlefields. However, after the spiky beast emperor discovered this and led the spiky beast elite team to rush into the centaur long-range troops, the situation changed again. Although the Centaur melee troops no longer had the Scimitar Beast elite squad charging around in the camp, they also lost their ranged support, and their momentum in killing the enemy declined. On the Centaur ranged troops side, the Centaur longbowmen and Centaur archers, who originally had relatively weak armor and vitality, encountered the fierce and messed up Scimitar Beast elite squad, which was naturally a tragedy. In the end, it was the Centaur Great Wizard who found an opportunity and released a lava ball to stun the Scimitar Beast elite squad, allowing the Centaur ranged troops to escape the massacre of the Scimitar Beast elite squad with their speed advantage. From this melee, it can be seen that, although a powerful magic unit can play a role in killing a large number of enemies, the Scimitar Beasts can gain a slight advantage in the battle with the Centaur with their level disadvantage, and no great advantage in numbers, which is inseparable from the existence of the Scimitar Beast Emperor. As a super melee unit, the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts does not have as much mana as the Great Centaur Wizard to cast range skills to kill, but his role is greater than killing a large number of enemies. After the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts organized an elite team to kill as many high-end centaurs as possible, he led the elite team to disperse the formation of the Centaur's melee troops and disrupted the attacks of the Centaur's ranged troops. The arrow effect cannot be ignored. This big melee taught Yuffie, who had been secretly observing, a vivid lesson. The role of the Thorn Halo in this battle cannot be ignored. In the battle of the large army, the halo is much more useful than a powerful magic. After all, the halo has always existed, and Yuffie is also glad that he chose the Moon Girl Priest with the powerful halo skill as a starting loop. This is not a squad battle in the Warcraft game, but a large army battle. The halo has the advantages of coverage and no mana consumption, which plays a greater role than the killing skills. There is also the melee arrowhead. In melee combat, there must be an extremely powerful unit to play the role of arrowhead, which can lead other melee units to break through the enemy's formation and threaten the enemy's more vulnerable ranged or auxiliary arms. After all, it is a bit unreasonable to use melee units as meat shields. In terms of the current situation of the Night Elves, it is enough to use the Holy Giant Wolf as an arrowhead, but from a long-term perspective, it is obviously not enough to rely on the Holy Giant Wolf alone. After all, it is not known whether the Holy Giant Wolf can continue to evolve. Then, the second shot hero must consider carefully and choose a powerful melee unit. Let me tell you that there may be 2 updates during this period. Because Hongchen is a freshman, he has to undergo military training, and he has to save manuscripts for the military training. You don't want to be interrupted by then, right? Okay, today's first chapter. Please recommend and collect. Thank you for the reward of TX 200 starting coins, 100 starting coins, 100 starting coins. I recommend 2 new books. Please click to collect them and support the newcomers. By the way, have you developed the habit of voting for Sanjiang these days? Hongchen's friend's book will also be published in Sanjiang this week. If you want to vote, please vote for him. The title of the book is The Wish of Doomsday. Please help vote for Sanjiang. After all, there are still 10 points of experience, right? Chapter 77. Preparing to close the net. Although the Jungle Guardian has the skill of Thorn Aura, now we have Thorn Fangs, and the demand for powerful melee heroes must be met, so we can only put the old deer at the level of the Eternal Tree. As for whether the second launch is the Watcher or the Demon Hunter, this tangle will be discussed later. On the battlefield between the Spiky Beasts and the Centaurs, the Spiky Beast elite team led by the Spiky Beast Emperor is still rampaging. Although the Centaur's long-range troops have been attacking this elite team by taking advantage of their speed, they only make the 2 Spiky Beast commanders lose their combat effectiveness. The melee troops of the Centaurs are in a tragedy and have been destroyed by the Spiky Beast Emperor and the remaining 7 Spiky Beast commanders. The Spiky Beast Emperor and the Centaur Wizard are not stupid. Both beasts have tried to secretly send a few Spiky Beasts or Centaurs to leave the battlefield and go to the volcano to get the holy objects. But at the same time, it is precisely because the 2 beasts are not stupid that their plans have not succeeded. Although the Centaurs moved faster than the spiky-haired beasts, the spiky-haired beasts were now approaching the volcano. As soon as the Centaurs made a move, the spiky-haired beasts would stop the Centaurs from heading to the volcano at all costs. Even after a centaur leader finally bypassed the spiky-haired beast's defense line, he was caught up by the spiky-haired beast emperor with a brutal charge and was smashed to death. Although the spiky-haired beasts were closer to the volcano, their speed was not as fast as that of the centaurs. As soon as a spiky-haired beast tried to secretly retreat and go to the volcano to get the holy object, it would be shot to death by the concentrated firepower of the centaur's long-range troops. If the spiky-haired beast leader wanted to rush over, the centaur wizard would take action, and with the help of the rain of arrows from the centaur's long-range troops, even the thick skin of the spiky-haired beast leader would suffer. As for the spiky-haired beast emperor, it could withstand the concentrated firepower of the centaurs and forcibly take the holy object, but it did not dare to leave the battlefield between the spiky-haired beasts and the centaurs. If it hadn't been there to hold back the centaur wizard would have used up all his magic power to inflict heavy casualties on the spiky beasts. In that case, even if they got the holy object, they would probably not be able to keep it. Therefore, neither side could secretly obtain the holy object, and they had to fight here. The soldiers on the battlefield were consumed very quickly. Originally, there were about 1,000 spiky beasts and centaurs, but now there were only about 500 left. At this time, the number of low and medium level combat forces on the spiky beast side was equal to that of the centaurs. Although the overall strength was one level lower than that of the centaurs, with the spiky beast emperor and the 5 spiky beast commanders who still had a certain combat power, they had some advantages over the centaurs, which only had 2 centaur leaders left. In fact, if the centaur wizard hadn't taken advantage of the opportunity to cast a lava ball and 2 rains of fire, the centaurs, whose formation was disrupted, might now be much inferior to the spiky beasts in number. At this time, the emperor of the spiky beasts and the great centaur wizard both wanted to stop fighting. After all, if they continued to fight like this, there would be only a few beasts left in the 2 tribes. Under the shouts of the 2 bosses, the spiky beasts and the centaurs gradually withdrew from their close relationship and gathered around their respective bosses, forming a confrontation again. The emperor of the spiky beasts walked to the front of the spiky beasts camp and howled at the centaur camp. However, the great centaur wizard did not go out like the emperor of the spiky beasts, but stayed in the center of the centaur camp and talked to the emperor of the spiky beasts from a distance. The emperor of the spiky beasts made a few mocking roars, but the great centaur wizard did not respond to the provocation of the emperor of the spiky beasts. TSK, you think I'm stupid? I, a magic unit, stand face to face with you. Isn't this looking for death? Seeing that the great centaur wizard did not fall into the trap, the emperor of the spiky beasts was expected, but still a little disappointed. However, they still communicated with the centaur wizard through several layers of defense formed by centaurs. Soon, the emperor of the spiky beasts and the centaur wizard reached an agreement. The 2 sides were separated by a distance and slowly moved towards the volcano. Ahem, no excitement to watch. Yufei was a little disappointed. He was still thinking that the spiky beasts and the centaurs would perish together, and in the end only the emperor of the spiky beasts and the centaur wizard would be left for him to take advantage of. Well, now the spiky beasts and the centaurs have reached an agreement to go together to get the holy object, that is, the red dragon egg. But now the red dragon egg has been taken away by Tyrant and has hatched. When the spiky beasts and the centaurs arrived at the volcano, they found that the holy object was gone. In addition, the exploration team had already appeared once before, so they would definitely be alert, and it would be difficult to deal with it. So let's take advantage of the unexpected effect now, and close the net. Yufei gave an order in his heart. Immediately, the entire exploration team took action. It was still a traditional formation, with the feral wolves in front and the huntresses protecting the night elf archers in the back. But what was different this time was that there was a red dragon flying in the air. Under Tyrant's spiritual communication, the red dragon flew into the air and gave the exploration team a durable aura effect. Looking at the flying red dragon through Tyrant's vision, Yufei couldn't help but sigh. It's so durable, the bloodline is good. This guy can fly just a few minutes after birth. When can he fly to? By the way, my name is Yufei. Yufei, does this name mean that I can't fly? No. The effect of the durable aura is still very strong. Although it is only a level 1 durable aura, the 10% increase in movement speed still greatly improves the marching speed of the exploration team. According to Yufei's estimation, the overall movement speed of the exploration team has now exceeded that of the 5-legged centaurs, which means that, if they can't fight hard, they can use the kite tactic. Yufei originally hid the exploration team in a place closer to the volcano than the spiky beasts, so there is no problem of pursuit. Just wait for the spiky beasts and centaurs to pass by the ambush site. Some readers may ask, this is a wasteland. Is there any cover? Why ambush? This has to talk about Yufei's wretchedness. Needless to say, the Night Elves rely on the talent of hiding to be invisible at night. Even if they stand there swaggeringly, they will not be discovered. And the wild wolves use their sharp claws as shovels under Yufei's command, dug deep pits, and then each of them lay in, and then covered themselves with a layer of loose soil with the help of the Night Elves. At night, if you don't look carefully, you really can't find it. Chapter 2. Please collect and recommend. Thanks to Zuai Uzingan for the 100 starting coins reward. Have you all developed the habit of voting for Sanjiang these days? Hongchen's friend's book is also on Sanjiang this week. If you want to vote, vote for him. The title of the book is The Wish of Doomsday. Please help vote for Sanjiang. After all, there are still 10 points of experience, right? Chapter 78 A Battle Without Suspense. Next, they had to wait for the spiky-haired beasts and centaurs to pass through the ambush. The exploration troops did not have to wait for long. The spiky-haired beasts and centaurs, who were eager to investigate the holy relics, rushed into the ambush of the exploration troops. The spiky-haired beasts and centaurs did not trust each other very much. Although they had reached an agreement temporarily, both the spiky-haired beast emperor and the centaurs knew that as long as there was a chance, they would definitely do their best to put the other party to death. When you judge others by yourself, and judge beasts by yourself, you will naturally be on guard against each other. For this reason, there was a gap of about 10 meters between the spiky-haired beast troops and the centaurs who were advancing side by side. On both sides of this gap were the most heavily guarded areas of the spiky-haired beasts and centaurs. Almost all the melee troops of both sides were arranged in this place to prevent sudden attacks from the other side. In this case, if the spiky beasts and centaurs are considered as a whole, the formation is a bit strange. The melee troops are placed in the middle, while the ranged troops such as the centaurs longbowmen and centaurs archers and the auxiliary units such as the spiky beast doctors are arranged on the periphery. This is very beneficial to the exploration troops' sneak attack. When Yufei was ambushing, he did not consider whether the division of troops would weaken the strength. Instead, he divided the entire exploration force into 2 parts, distributed on both sides of the paths he expected the spiky beasts and centaurs to lead to the volcano. In this way, when the spiky beasts and centaurs come to the ambush, they can go out from both sides and kill together. Anyway, after having the durable aura of the red young dragon, the exploration troops have the advantage of speed. When the spiky beasts and centaurs, who had been on guard against the opponent and slowly moved towards the volcano, passed halfway through the ambush, Yufei gave an order, and the wild wolves jumped out of the pits they dug, and pounced into the camp of the spiky beast doctors and centaurs ranged troops. The Night Elves, who were standing there without being noticed, launched the attack without hesitation. Of course, their attacks were all aimed at the centaur ranged troops. As long as the ranged troops of these 2 races were dealt with, there would be nothing to worry about. The Emperor of the Scimitar Beasts and the Great Centaur Wizard had been paying attention to each other's movements, and they were thinking about what to do after getting the holy relics. They didn't realize that the exploration troops were not hidden very well. When the wild wolves rushed out, the 2 bosses were also shocked and cried out in their hearts. Because they had to guard against each other, the relatively vulnerable troops of the Scimitar Beasts and Centaur were placed on the periphery. The sudden appearance of the enemy was afraid that their men would suffer heavy casualties. However, despite this psychological preparation, the speed at which the exploration troops killed the Centaur ranged troops and the Scimitar Beast Doctor still made the Great Centaur Wizard and the Emperor of the Scimitar Beasts tear their eyes out. Although wild wolves did not save their magic points, they used wild combos as they pounced on the enemy. Together with the 9 leader level terror wolves and the sacred giant wolves as arrows, they attacked these fragile units with overwhelming force. coupled with the shooting of the Night Elf archers from a distance and the huntresses wandering around the periphery, the centaur ranged troops and the sharp-haired beast doctors were soon killed, leaving only a few small fish and shrimps. Only a few clever centaur longbowmen and sharp-haired beast doctors who were slightly inside escaped into the camp of their own melee troops and luckily saved their lives. After achieving their goal, the wild wolves did not want to fight. When the sharp-haired beasts and centaur melee troops just launched a counterattack, they turned around and left the sharp-haired beasts and centaurs camp under the leadership of the sacred giant wolves. Soon, the exploration troops distributed on both sides gathered together again and confronted the sharp-haired beast and centaur joint army. Whoosh! A gust of night wind blew by, dispersing the dark clouds in the sky a little, and the light of 3 full moons was cast on the volcanic wasteland. Under the moon, the two troops stood quietly about 100 meters apart. The number of people on one side seemed to be much larger, but it was very noisy, and it was divided into 2 distinct sides. Although the other side seemed to have a lot fewer people, it seemed to have a strictly noob and strong momentum. In addition, a red shadow flying above the head under the moonlight added a lot of momentum. Seeing the red dragon flying above the head of this newly emerging force, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast and the great centaur wizard felt something was wrong. After guarding the holy object for so long, they also knew that the holy object was actually an egg. If it weren't for the strong fire element lingering around the holy object and unable to get close, this battle would have broken out long ago. From the previous tribal leader, they knew about the holy object, or the holy egg. Christmas. The holy egg can only be taken down when it is about to hatch, so the battle between the scimitars and the centaurs will begin tonight. Now, the force that suddenly appeared seems to be quite strong, which makes the scimitars and the centaurs, whose overall strength has been greatly weakened, feel threatened. Moreover, how long has this force been hiding around? Is the red creature flying above their heads hatched from the holy egg? These questions made the Emperor of Scimitars and the Great Wizard of Centaurs very anxious. However, before they could ask and find out some information, the exploration troops launched an attack first. Needless to say, the battle process, the centaurs and scimitars, whose ranged troops and auxiliary units were destroyed, could only be beaten. During this period, the Great Wizard of Centaurs wanted to release a lethal spell, but the Night Elves had more than one stun skill, and its rain of fire and lava balls were interrupted when they were cast, so he had to cast Bloodlust on the centaurs in frustration. The Emperor of the Spiky Beasts was not able to turn the tables either. Its speed was not even as fast as that of the centaurs, not to mention the exploration troops, which were even faster than the centaurs under the blessing of the durability aura. Although there was still magic points to cast a skill, the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts did not dare to use it carelessly. Soon, under the attack of the exploration troops' arrows and moon blades, fangs and claws, the number of spiky beasts and centaurs decreased sharply, and even the spiky beast leaders were only left with 3 under the hunting of the sniper troops. At this time, the situation on the field was very clear. The centaur wizard was unable to do anything under the special care of Tyrant and Luna, and the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts was afraid to use a barbaric charge to break in alone, so he could only let the exploration troops wander around the periphery of the pig horse joint army, tearing off a piece of meat from time to time. No matter how long the fight lasts, it will eventually end. The outcome of this battle was no surprise. At this time, there were only 2 big bosses and a few lucky spiky beasts and centaurs left on the field. THANKS to the Lost Palace for the reward of 100 starting coins. Please vote for Doomsday Fairy Wish on the Sanjiang page. You can also get 10 experience points. Chapter 79 Avril is seriously injured. In this short-lived battle, the Red Dragon's combat effectiveness was proven. The Red Dragon originally had the air advantage of a flying unit, and with an attack range of 100 meters, it could fly 100 meters in the air and attack the spiky beasts and centaurs on the ground without restraint. However, after losing its ranged units, the spiky beasts and centaurs could not attack the Red Dragon. The Red Dragon was just born, and was in a very active period. It worked very hard in the battle, and from time to time it would blast the pig horse combined army with a flaming breath. In addition, the chaotic attribute attack ignored armor, so a large number of spiky beasts withstood the shooting of the Night Elf archers with their strong defense, but were killed by the Red Dragon's spit. The active Red Dragon even attacked the spiky beast emperor, but was knocked unconscious by a stone thrown by the spiky beast emperor. After almost falling to the ground, it learned its lesson and continued to bully the low and medium level spiky beasts and centaurs. Seeing this scene, Yufei couldn't help but sigh. A newborn red dragon is really not afraid of pigs. After all, the red dragon is still a young dragon, and its magic immunity cannot defend against the flying stones thrown by the emperor of the sharp-haired beast. However, the weakening effect caused the dizziness to last for less than a second. Otherwise it would be really dangerous. In the other world, it is not like in the game. In the game, even if the air unit is knocked unconscious, it will not fall to the ground, but it is different in the other world. I have never seen an air unit that flaps its wings after being knocked unconscious. There is also the holy giant wolf. If it weren't for the holy giant wolf that entangled the emperor of the sharp-haired beast to a certain extent, I'm afraid that this battle would still have some suspense. As for how the holy giant wolf, which is only about the early and middle stage of level 8, can resist the emperor of the sharp-haired beast at the peak of level 9, it is of course a turtle tactic. The fire of the soul that the kobold diviner blessed the holy giant wolf with increased its defense by 50%. Then the holy giant wolf activated the holy guardian skill, which increased its defense by 100%, even higher than that of the emperor of the sharp-haired beast. In addition, with the long-range harassment of the elves such as Tyrant, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast was entangled and did not have the opportunity to kill all around. After another round of arrow rain, only the emperor of the sharp-haired beast and the great centaur wizard were left on the wasteland full of corpses. The great centaur wizard is a magic unit, and it is difficult for it to survive under the attack of the exploration troops. However, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast did not hesitate to protect the great centaur wizard at this critical moment. Although the arrows of the archers were tracking, they could not bypass the 360-degree personal bodyguard of the emperor of the sharp-haired beast. The emperor of the sharp-haired beast obviously knew that, if he wanted to escape, he could only unite with the great centaur wizard. But as his men became fewer and fewer, he gradually became desperate. The centaur wizard protected by himself did not play a big role. Every time he released an attack skill, it would be interrupted by an arrow or a beam of light from the enemy. If it were not for the fact that he could restrain the opponent's skills, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast would have given up protecting the centaur wizard. However, Tyrant's lunar arrow and Luna's moonlight skill themselves have considerable damage. Although the emperor of the sharp-haired beast blocked the ordinary attack, the centaur wizard was almost dead at this time. Alas, why is this necessary? Yufei looked at the emperor of the sharp-haired beast, who had an expression of dying rather than surrendering. In fact, he was still very optimistic about the emperor of the sharp-haired beast. If the emperor of the sharp-haired beast had not had much magic and physical strength left after a series of battles, even if he could beat it, he would not be able to stay. The key is that the emperor of the sharp-haired beast in peak state will cause great casualties to the exploration team, and it will be more harm than good. But now the emperor of the sharp-haired beast is at the end of his strength. He looked at the exploration team with an expression like he found that his toilet paper was taken away by someone who just passed by when he was squatting in the toilet. I think he can't be subdued like the kobold diviner. In this case, then, Elder Pig, I'm sorry. After killing you, I will let Tyrant collect your body. By the way, your crown looks good. I don't know what its attributes are. However, after Yufei gave the order to kill the two bosses without any pressure, an accident still occurred. In the end, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast was conceited and had a desperate struggle. It abandoned the dying centaur wizard who had been destroyed by Tyrant and Luna, and rushed into the camp of the Night Elf archers with a savage collision. Fortunately, there were no other units on the way it collided, and only 3 ordinary archers were killed by the savage collision. The emperor of the spiky beast who rushed into the archer camp was not able to do much, because Avril reacted quickly and gave the emperor of the spiky beast a shock shot. The emperor of the spiky beast, who was not fast to begin with, was slowed down to 30% and his movement speed was as slow as a turtle on the back of a snail. How could he catch up with the archer? So he did not cause greater damage. However, when he was killed by Luna's moonlight in the end, the emperor of the spiky beast once again used the Pegasus meteor hammer, a special skill. Perhaps he was angry that Avril made his last burst ineffective, so he hit Avril with his flying hammer, causing Avril to be seriously injured and dying. Yufei was also afraid. If Avril had not just advanced to the elite level before, and her vitality had increased a lot, she would not have survived this flying hammer. You know, Avril is the starting unit. According to Yufei's comparison and the information faintly revealed in the inherited memory, the starting units must be different from ordinary units in the later stage. If they are killed by the Emperor of the Spiky Beast here, it will be a big loss. The angry Yufei ordered the archers to pour another round of arrows on the body of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast. Humph, this whipping of the corpse is revenge for your leader, Yufei explained to the archers. This guy completely forgot the promise he made when he was thinking about the crown of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast. Then, the Centaur Wizard was also killed by Tyrant with a burning arrow. The Centaur Wizard plus some of the Spiky Beasts and Centaurs killed before. Tyrant's experience tube from level 5 to level 6 was full, but Tyrant did not reach level 6. No way after Tyrant reached level 5, Yufei was a little uneasy. According to the rules in Warcraft, heroes can no longer gain experience by brushing the jungle after reaching level 5. But later on, Yufei was relieved to find out that Tyrant could gain experience by killing wild monsters. After all, in this alien world, who knows how wild monsters are defined? If all enemies are defined as wild monsters, then wouldn't the highest level of heroes be only 5? At POR Freshman today is the second chapter, and also the last chapter. Thanks to Blood Moon Star Meteorite for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 80 Post-War Affairs. I thought that by killing the Centaur Wizard, Tyrant could reach level 6 and learn the ultimate skill, Starfall, but now the situation has made Yufei a little confused. Why did I not reach level 6, even though I had full experience at level 5? My Starfall, is there a bottleneck? The question is, how can I reach level 6 without gaining experience by killing monsters? Did Yufei think that the Night Elves have been killing the wild monsters of Warcraft that have descended, and perhaps they can break through the prison of level 5 by killing the native creatures of Slays? Thinking of this, Yufei is more looking forward to the trip to the Warcraft mountains. Now that the two major wild monster groups in the volcanic wasteland have been eliminated, there is a smooth road ahead. After passing through the volcanic wasteland, it is the Warcraft mountains. By then, my left foot, the left route will wrap around a large gold mine, and the right route will wrap around an energy mine. My younger brother will collect magic crystals, and then the energy will be full, and countless younger brothers will be trained. If people stand in our way, we will kill them. If Buddha stands in our way, there seems to be no Buddha in Slays, so let's kill gods. Then relying on the experience provided by Warcraft, Tyrant soared to the peak of mythology, and then made the second hero to the peak of mythology, and took a group of brothers to the mainland to grab gold, grab magic crystals, and then upgrade to the eternal tree, and make a chimera. Wow. At the same time, a faint light flashed on Avril's body, and then her injuries gradually recovered. Damn, this thing doesn't even need to be applied, and it's called a healing ointment? Isn't this the Claw Druid's rejuvenation item version? Wow. Although there is a flaw, that the healing effect will be interrupted if attacked during the healing process. It can be used as long as the mind moves, and it can save many important units on the battlefield. After treating Avril's injuries, the next thing is to count the gains from this battle. With the achievements of the previous few times, it was still Tyrant who opened the corpses of those high-level monsters. But this time, Tyrant's luck seemed to be ineffective. After opening the corpses of 5 centaur leaders in a row, no equipment was opened. No matter how unlucky you are, there shouldn't be no equipment for 5 corpses, right? Could it be? By the way, it should be like this. These centaur leaders were not killed by the exploration team, but by the Spiky Beast Emperor and the Spiky Beast commanders. Maybe the equipment can't be dropped by the fighting between wild monsters? How Yufei let out a long sigh. Fortunately, the Emperor of the Scimitars and the Great Centaur Wizard were killed by the exploration team in the end. There were also 8 Scimitar commanders and 2 Centaur chiefs, otherwise it would be a big loss. After thinking it through, Yufei asked Tyrant to open the body of the Emperor of the Scimitars first. This time, there was indeed a harvest, and more than one. The crown on the head of the Emperor of the Scimitars was indeed an equipment, but the attributes did not satisfy Yuffie. King's Crown, all attributes +5. All attributes +5. NND. The Ghost Scepter has all attributes +7, and comes with a Ghost Form bug skill. The Crown of a Scimitar Emperor only has all attributes +15 +5. This is simply a pitfall. But what are the question marks at the end? This is not a game. Do I need to identify the equipment? Regardless, actually, adding 5 to all attributes is already pretty good, but from the attribute point of view, it is more than the attribute added by Tyrande when she upgrades to the next level. Yuffie is just a little bit upset that the equipment dropped by such a powerful wild monster as the Emperor of the Spiky Beast has only this quality. As for the other equipment of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast, there is nothing much to say, no matter the shape or the attribute, it is clear at a glance. This equipment is a chain hammer of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast. In fact, it can no longer be called a chain hammer. The chain hammer is a handle with a chain, and a round hammer is tied to the chain head. After being burned by the centaur wizard twice with lava balls, this chain hammer has changed a lot. First of all, the chain has been melted, and the round hammer at the front has become a slightly square hammerhead with a handle after being melted. Mithril Hammer, attack +24 simple attributes, but it makes you very excited. This guy has a 2.5 star attack. In the Miracle Ancient Tree, there is no Mithril Hammer. Moreover, in the later stage, the Mithril Hammer can be used to synthesize the Whirlpool, and then the Thor's Hammer, the Black Emperor Staff, and the Desolation. Even if it is not used for synthesis, it is a great benefit to Tyrande or other heroes. However, compared with the later gains, Yuffie's interest in the Mithril Hammer has dropped again. After several battles and a full visit to the fight between the sharp-haired beasts and the centaurs, Yuffie understood. This alien world does not seem to be like the novels I read before, where the strong can do whatever they want, sweep through thousands of troops, fight through the stars, and swallow the sky. It mainly depends on the collective strength here. The strong are more like a sharp knife like the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast. Let's not talk about the distant, just take the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast as an example. With the strength of the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast, sweeping through thousands of troops, let's let it fight against 1,000 Night Elf archers and see. It can replace its thorns with a bow, including the chrysanthemum. Replace it with an arrow shaft. I think the titles of legend, epic, and myth in the other world do not mean that individual combat power can become a myth or something, but that under the leadership of such a strong man, the collective power can create an epic and a myth. It is precisely because of this that Yuffie pays more attention to aura skills, because they can better enhance the overall strength. However, personal combat power is also needed. Even if a strong man cannot defeat 1,000 archers head on, if he keeps harassing and running over to release skills, or 1,000 archers are not enough to kill. To put it bluntly, this is a world where personal strength and collective strength are equally important. And the equipment that made Yuffie abandon the Mithril Hammer to observe was the equipment opened from the 8 sharp-haired beast leaders at THANKS to Ranmo's trumpet for an update ticket, and thanks to Change Fiu for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 81, Crown of Thorns and Elite Luna. Looking at the equipment from the 8 spiky beast leaders lined up in front of him, Yuffie had only one word in his mind at this moment: embarrassing. Because the names of these 8 pieces of equipment are all 4 words: Thorn Teeth. Counting the thorn teeth that exploded from the spiky beast leader killed in the stone forest when he first entered the wasteland, there are now a total of 9 thorn teeth. Fortunately, Yuffie discovered that these thorn teeth can be fused. Every 3 thorn teeth can be fused into an equipment called Thorn Wreath. Thorn Wreath, attached skill Thorn Aura. Passive, it can make our troops within a certain range, surrounded by a layer of thorns, causing damage to the melee units that attack them. Feedback: 20% of the damage caused by the enemy, with a range of 500 meters. Passive skill, no casting interval, no magic consumption, and unlimited duration. Well, not bad. The effect of the Thorn Aura cannot be stacked. After the fusion, the Thorn Aura skill attached to the Thorn Wreath has become level 2, and didn't it combine 3 Thorn Wreaths? Yuffie tried to fuse the 3 Thorn Wreaths together again, and indeed, he fused a higher level equipment. Crown of Thorns. Attached skill Thornora. Passive. It can make our troops within a certain range surrounded by a shield full of thorns, causing damage to the melee units that attack them. Feedback 30% of the damage caused by the enemy with an effective range of 800 meters. Passive skill. No casting interval, no magic consumption, and unlimited duration. Oh, ho, ho, ho. This is already the effect of the 3rd level Thornora. Poor old dear, it seems that you really have to wait until I reach the level of the Eternal Tree before you can appear. After the accidental fusion of the Crown of Thorns, only the corpses of the Centaur Wizard and the 2 Centaur leaders were left. Maybe the luck had run out and no equipment was opened on the corpses of the 2 Centaur leaders, but a staff was opened on the corpse of the Centaur Wizard. The Staff of the Void, +6 intelligence, +10% attack speed, +15 attack, +75% mana recovery speed. The Staff of the Void is a synthetic equipment in Dota. It requires 3 pieces of equipment, namely the short stick, the artist's mask, and the wizard's robe, to synthesize. It is an equipment that does not require a synthesis scroll, and its attributes are very good. In the later stage, 3 Staffs of the Void can also be synthesized into a staff called Purple Resentment. Of course, there is another piece of equipment that requires a Staff of the Void to synthesize. That is, the Refresher Ball. The Refresher Ball's amazing feature is the Refresher skill that comes with it. Refresh. Active. Used to immediately end the cooldown of all skills/items, excluding the Refresher Ball itself. The Refresher Ball requires a Tenacity Ball, the Staff of the Void, and a Refresher Ball scroll to synthesize. Next, there is no equipment gain, and the mid and low level spiky beasts and centaurs did not drop any equipment. So to summarize, the total equipment obtained in this battle is the King's Crown, the Mithril Hammer, the Crown of Thorns, and the Staff of the Void, and only 1 healing ointment was consumed. Of course, the loss of 3 archers cannot be ignored. In addition, the Night Elves also gained countless experience in this battle. Many newly trained archers and huntresses are not far from the elite level, and the archers and huntresses who were originally elite are naturally 1 step closer to the elite level. Speaking of experience, Luna is the one who gained the most this time. It was Luna who made the final blow to kill the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts. With the huge experience provided by the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts, Luna finally became the 2nd elite unit under Euphony after Avril. And because she is a starting unit, Luna's attributes and skills have been greatly improved. Huntress. Name. Luna. Only the 1st unit trained of each type will automatically have a name. Level. Elite attack type. Normal attack range. 100 attack speed. Fast attack power. Movement speed. Very fast armor type. Light armor. HP. Mana. Abilities. Sentinel. Can summon an owl for reconnaissance. The owl cannot move, cannot be attacked, and can see invisible units. Requires Research Sentinel, not met. Moonblade allows the Huntress to bounce damage to more enemy units. Requires Research Moonblade, not met. Features Bounce. The Huntress can attack 2 targets at the same time. When attacking a target, if there are other units next to the target, it will automatically bounce to the other unit, causing damage to it. Hide makes the unit stop attacking the enemy and can make it shadow melt, becoming invisible at night. Skills Moonlight. The Huntress gathers the energy of the moon and erects it to the ground, causing damage to an enemy unit and a short-term stun. Consumes less mana, causes less damage, and stuns for 2 seconds. Interval time is 20 seconds. Super Bounce makes the Huntress's attack increase the damage by 20% each time it bounces. A passive skill. Moonlight Baptism. The life and magic recovery speed of enemies within a range of 300 meters is reduced to 20%, and the life and magic recovery speed of friendly forces is increased by 100%. Consumes 350 mana points. The skill lasts for 10 minutes, and the interval time is 30 minutes. With this attribute increase, Luna becomes a meat shield, the armor type becomes light, and the armor value becomes 6 stars. The health value reaches 6.5 stars. You know, Avril, who is also an elite, has only 4 stars. As for the newly added skills, Euphony no longer wants to judge anything. I was still wondering why the elite huntresses all have the skill of constant attack, but Luna doesn't have it. It turns out that this is it. Instead of a constant attack, a more abnormal super strong ricochet appeared. The ricochet attack was higher than the original attack. Yufei couldn't wait to upgrade to the ancient tree and then study the moonblade. When the number of ricochets increases, Luna's attack will ricochet once, and the damage will become 120%, 144% for 2 ricochets, 173% for 3 ricochets, and more than double for 4 attacks. As for Moonlight Baptism, it is also a very good skill. It suppresses the life and magic recovery speed to 20%, which means that the injury that could be recovered in 1 minute now takes 5 minutes to recover, and the recovery speed of the 2 on the side is increased to twice the original. However, it consumes too much magic value. After using Moonlight Baptism, Luna only has a little more than 1/3 of the magic value left. Yufei is quite satisfied with the duration of 10 minutes. A quick battle will only take about 10 minutes, which is enough. @@thanks to the reward of VB 588 starting coins from the post-era. Please vote for Doomsday Fairy Wish on the Sanjiang page, and you can get 10 experience points. I recommend a female book to everyone, written by a beautiful girl, and I can't refuse it. Everyone knows please collect and recommend it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Arriving at the Warcraft Mountains. After checking out Luna's new attributes and skills, the battle was completely over. If calculated according to the time on Earth, it was about 4 or 5 in the morning. If it was when he first entered the volcanic wasteland, Yufei would have ordered to advance to the south or retreat to the wind-whispering forest as quickly as possible. Otherwise, when the daybreak comes, the claws of the wild wolves and the jade feet of the Night Elves will be roasted. But now there is obviously no need to worry. After the stone platform in the crater lost the ability to gather fire element, the temperature of the entire wasteland is slowly and steadily decreasing. After a period of time, the volcanic wasteland is not as hot as it was at the beginning. As time goes by, the temperature may drop instead of rising in the morning, so there is no need to rush to march. Tyrion first led the exploration team to leave the corpse-strewn area under the crater and came to the other side of the volcano. After a short rest, the exploration team began to continue to move south, and naturally there were no more accidents along the way. The 2 major forces in the volcanic wasteland have died. In fact, after bypassing the volcano, you can see the endless mountains. Although it seems to be close at hand, you still have to walk a long way to reach the periphery of the Warcraft Mountains. After spending about 4 hours, the exploration team was finally about to walk out of the volcanic wasteland. However, Tyrion asked the exploration team to stop and rest for a while. Yufei highly praised Tyrion's behavior. I don't know what the situation is in the Warcraft Mountains yet, so it's better to rest before entering, and enter the Warcraft Mountains in the best condition. Although the Night Elves created are trained by Yufei don't need to rest, the Kobold Fortune Tellers and Wild Wolves all need to rest. Speaking of which, the Kobold Fortune Tellers have not fallen behind with their 2 short legs, which makes Yufei amazed. But after being amazed, there is a little jealousy. The speed of this tree is so slow. It takes me 3 hours to walk the distance that you take 1 hour. You run so fast. Isn't it a blatant contempt for this tree? Therefore, Yufei, who was originally planning to let a wild wolf carry the Kobold Fortune Teller, gave up this idea. The breathless and exhausted Kobold Fortune Teller obviously didn't know that he wouldn't be so tired if he slowed down, nor did he know that he had been inadvertently envied by a petty tree. At this time, the 3 moons had long disappeared in the western sky, and the sun had risen for a while. As Yufei expected, after another 4 hours, the temperature of the volcanic wasteland had dropped, and there was no longer the original hot feeling. In other words, if you feel it carefully, you will feel a little hot. At least Yufei feels that it can allow ordinary plants to survive. In this way, it will not be an obstacle to his migration. The connection between the Warcraft mountains and the volcanic wasteland is not a sudden mountain range, but a forest extending from the Warcraft mountains, forming the border area between the Warcraft mountains and the volcanic wasteland. At this time, Yufei suddenly thought of a question. There should be humans in the Warcraft mountains hunting Warcraft. What if I encounter humans? Yufei hurriedly searched through the information he had obtained about the human world. The disadvantage of the will reading technique is that the information read out is not completely understood directly. It is more like you download some information from the computer and then check it when you need it. So when facing some situations that require the knowledge of the human world, Yufei has to look for information like looking up a book. Of course, after reading this information, Yufei will naturally remember it, and there will be no need to be so troublesome in the future. After checking the information obtained from the unfortunate second son of the Grand Duke, Yufei breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that the place arrived after crossing the volcanic wasteland was already the inner layer of the Warcraft mountains. Generally, there would be no human activities here. After all, being hunted by high-level Warcraft is not a fun thing. If you accidentally lead a high-level Warcraft out of the Warcraft mountains, some villages and towns outside the Warcraft mountains will suffer. Yufei is not afraid of meeting humans. After all, those who enter the Warcraft mountains are generally small groups of mercenaries, adventurers, etc. At most, there will be some academy to conduct student trials, and there will not be too many people coming. The exploration team naturally doesn't have to be afraid of these humans. Yufei is worried that, if they are discovered by humans, they will attract the attention of major forces or even the human empire. At that time, this book may become a story of abuse. The inner layer of the Warcraft mountain range is not bad. Not bad. If it is in the outer layer, the level of the Warcraft is not very high, and the energy of the magic crystal will be much less, so the speed of grabbing energy value will be much slower. Moreover, in the periphery of the Warcraft mountain range, if there are gold mines, energy mines, etc., they must have been developed by humans long ago. It is better to go to the inner layer, where the level of Warcraft is high and there will be many mineral sources. Yufei is already a little impatient to migrate. All the obstacles along the way have been cleared, and Yufei can actually migrate to the forest at the junction of the Warcraft mountain range and the volcanic wasteland. However, there are still some gold mines in the Wolf Dog Point Man tribe. After the gold mines in this piece are collected, and the energy is converted into ancient protectors, Yufei will migrate immediately. After resting for a while, without releasing the owl for investigation, Tyrant led the exploration team into the forest. Don't enter the forest. What a joke. For the Night Elves, it is still a good opportunity to enter the forest. As long as they see the forest, the Night Elves want to go in and take a look. However, Tyrant is still more cautious. She still follows the formation she has always followed, letting the sacred giant wolf lead the wild wolves in front. Suddenly, there was some commotion at the leading wild wolf. With the vision of the wild wolf, Yufei saw what happened. However, a spider-like monster was startled by the wild wolves that broke into the forest and sprayed venom at the leading horror wolf. However, the horror wolf was very alert. The moment the spider monster launched an attack, it reacted immediately, stretched out its sharp claws, twisted its waist, and avoided the spider monster's venom. Then, the horror wolf leaped and followed up with a terrifying combo, directly solving the spider monster. In the body of the spider monster, the horror wolf also dug out a magic crystal. After Yufei used his mental power to investigate, he found that the spider monster was actually a level 5 monster, and the magic crystal contained 400 units of energy. A level 5 monster is so defeated by a terror wolf. It seems that, although the level in Warcraft is also 10, it is still much stronger than the native creatures of Slays. If it were in the game, a level 6 terror wolf would not be able to kill a level 5 monster so easily. THANKS to HAOIU-AO for the reward of 1888 starting coins. Thanks to Zuayu Zingan for the reward of 100 starting coins. Ahem. This is a buyout book. It is more guaranteed. Chapter 83 Exploring Mineral Resources. Wow. Hahaha. In this way, I can get a lot of energy very quickly. After upgrading to the ancient tree, it is a qualitative change. Without hesitation, Yufei asked the exploration team, to continue to go deeper into the forest. I think there will be no monsters in this forest that can threaten the exploration team. Even if a level 9 monster appears, the exploration team can deal with it. As for the mythical level, it is not so easy to appear. It is still unclear whether there are mythical monsters in the Warcraft mountain range. As the exploration team goes deeper, more and more monsters appear, but the levels are hovering between level 4 and 6, and no higher level ones are seen. By the time they pass through this forest and officially enter the Warcraft mountain range, the exploration team has harvested to level 4 magic crystals, 5 level 5 magic crystals and 3 level 6 magic crystals. This adds up to 8,200 units of energy. Isn't it a bit against the sky? It only took 2 hours. Yufei was a little excited. He was busy crossing the forest. He didn't go to hunt monsters, but he got so many rewards. If the migration is completed, let the wild wolves and the Night Elves team up to kill monsters. Wow, mountain giants, druids, the father is calling you. After entering the Warcraft mountains, Tyrant was also more careful and shrank the formation. In fact, the Wind Whispering Forest should have been considered the periphery of the Warcraft mountains, but after the countless wild monsters of Warcraft descended, the Wind Whispering Forest became desolate. This forest should also be considered a part of the Wind Whispering Forest, but it was separated by the volcanic wasteland after the dragon eggs descended. Therefore, the strength of the monsters in this forest cannot represent the level of the monsters in the inner layer of the Warcraft mountains. It is better to be careful. Sure enough, just after officially entering the Warcraft mountains, the monster encountered was a level 7 fire cloud leopard. Yufei realized that the monsters were actually very strong. Their advantage was that they knew more than one kind of magic. Although it is obviously not as powerful and effective as the skills in Warcraft, the continuous fire clouds and machine gun-like fireballs still made the exploration team flustered for a while. However, this fire cloud leopard finally obeyed the sacred mission of contributing to the evolution of the Great Tree of Life, fell under Tyrant's scorching arrows, and contributed its 7th level magic crystal. A 7th level magic crystal is 10,000 units of energy. Yufei was almost suffocated. It's just around the corner for me to upgrade to the Eternal Tree. According to this calculation, the 8th level magic crystal is 50,000 units of energy, the 9th level is 200,000, and the mythical level is 1 million. Isn't this a bit unreasonable? Yufei was a little scared. 1/8th level magic crystal was enough for me to upgrade to the ancient tree. But think about it again, there are not many high level monsters. It's lucky to meet a level 8 or 9 monster. Besides, we just found out that the monsters are also very strong. Countless magics beat the exploration team out of temper. We thought we could deal with the 9th level monsters before, but we were a little too arrogant. Sure enough, after harvesting the 7th level magic crystal of the fire cloud leopard, we didn't encounter other monsters for a long time. As expected, just like the setting in the alien novels on Gideon, the monsters have their own sphere of influence. From this point of view, there won't be too many high-level monsters in the huge monster mountain range. Yufei ordered the exploration team to stop advancing. It is enough to explore here for the time being. The next step is to find energy mines or gold mines. In fact, Yufei likes the forest at the junction of the monster mountain range and the volcanic wasteland. When migrating, he can stay here for a while and hunt the monsters in the forest. It is also good to upgrade to the ancient tree first, and then officially enter the monster mountain range. Although the main body is not here, Yufei can still find out the existence of gold mines, or energy mines with the trained units as a medium. After a while, Yufei found a gold mine, but he was not satisfied with the reserves. 150,000 units of gold, which is 15,000 units of energy, a little less. So far, the magic crystals hunted have added up to 18,200 units of energy. Let's look for more. Yufei used Tyrant as a medium to spread his mental power around. He slowly but carefully swept his mental power over every inch of the ground, feeling the energy breath and metal magnetism underground. Yufei was delighted. There was metal magnetism emanating. He probed his mental power into the ground. In fact, Yufei didn't want to directly use his mental power to explore the ground, but the denser the material, the more mental power scanning would consume. Yufei used the method of casting nets everywhere and focusing on fishing to save effort. Ahem. Why is it an iron ore? Yufei was a little depressed. Detecting metal magnetism does not necessarily mean it is a gold mine. There are so many types of metals, which brought him great interference. TSK. Yufei smacked his lips. It would be great if he could explore an energy mine. The speed of collecting energy mines is 10 times faster than gold mines, and there is no need to convert them. Not discouraged, Yufei continued to radiate his mental power. This piece of ground exudes the breath of magic crystals. Could it be an energy mine? Yufei penetrated his mental power into the ground. What he found later made Yufei feel a little frustrated. Who buried a magic crystal on the ground? I got excited for nothing. Under the ground, there is a level 5 magic crystal. Maybe the body of magic beast was buried in the soil after it died. No matter how small the mosquito leg is, it is still meat. A wild wolf dug out this magic crystal. No. Yufei suddenly thought that the magic beasts would not throw their bodies into the wild unless they died in a fight. Every old and dead magic beast would return to its own nest before dying. How could it be buried underground? But it is not right to say that it was done by humans. Humans would not leave a level 5 magic crystal unused. Moreover, the soil layer on the body of this monster is not as loose as the surrounding soil layer, and it is more like magic. This can explain it. This monster should be buried underground by earth magic and directly crushed or suffocated. Then, there should be a powerful earth monster around. Yufei conveyed his analysis to Tyrant, and Tyrant naturally put the exploration team on alert. After dealing with the fire cloud leopard, the exploration team has walked a short distance, which should be entering the territory of another monster. Yufei is considering whether to let the exploration team withdraw from the monster mountain range first. After all, the forest outside the monster mountain range is enough for Yufei to grab resources for the time being. But thinking about it, no large mineral sources have been found so far. Yufei still let the exploration team continue to move forward to facilitate his exploration. As for the possible existence of the monster, maybe it is sending magic crystals? @THANK for the evaluation vote of one chapter. Please vote for the Wish of Doomsday on the Sanjiang page, and you can get 10 experience points. I recommend a female book to everyone, written by a beautiful girl, and the world can't refuse it. Everyone knows collect and recommend it. If you have the conditions, leave a message in the book review area. The message content: just follow the world. Chapter 84 Earth Bear. The holy giant wolf carefully led the two terror wolves through the forest. As the unit with the highest armor under Yufei, the holy giant wolf took on the responsibility of exploring the way without hesitation. The holy giant wolf cried, "I was forced." Only the holy giant wolf could contend with the high-level earth-type monster that had not appeared. After all, the 7th level monster encountered slightly outside was a level 7 monster, and this earth-type monster might be of a higher level. Not long after, the holy giant wolf made a discovery. After passing through a bush, a deep cave appeared in front of the exploration team. The monster might be in this cave. However, Yufei carefully felt it. Why is the energy breath around so strong? Yufei quickly thought of a possibility. He immediately stretched out his mental power and began to scan the surrounding underground. Sure enough, Yufei was excited. There is indeed an energy mine in this area. Yufei found transparent crystals embedded in the soil and even in the rock layer. These crystals look a bit like magic crystals, but unlike magic crystals, they are colorless, which also represents the attributeless characteristics of energy crystals. Could it be that the magic beast also lived here because it felt the rich energy here? It is possible that, if the judgment is correct, there is a high-level earth-type magic beast in the cave in front of it, then it will have a stronger sense of the land, and naturally it will find that this place is conducive to enhancing its strength, and it will also build a nest here. This energy mine does not look small. It must be enough for me to upgrade. After a little exploration, Yufei found that the reserves of this energy mine are definitely not small, but the specific reserves need to be further carefully explored. Just as Yufei was about to transmit more mental power, there was movement in the cave in front of the exploration team. Roar! A huge roar came from the cave. Is this a bear or? Yufei was not wrong. A huge bear with a brown body rushed out of the cave and pounced directly on the sacred giant wolf closest to the cave. Yufei's heart tightened. He recognized this monster. This brown-yellow giant bear was the popular Earth-type monster that appeared in countless Yai novels, the Earth Bear. As far as Yufei knew, the Earth Bears on the Slays continent were level 7 monsters after adulthood, and the more powerful ones could reach level 8, which was the legendary level. And the one in front of him, probably because of living in a place with abundant energy for a long time, has reached the peak of legendary strength. Just look at it suppressing the sacred giant wolf. The Earth Bear is a monster that prefers melee combat and has very strong melee ability. It roared, and its fat bear paw fell on the forehead of the sacred giant wolf, which immediately knocked the sacred giant wolf dizzy. But it was only dizzy for a while. Isn't there an old saying that everyone knows about wolves? Copperhead irontail, tofu waste. The head defense of wolf creatures is very strong. Although the palm power of the Earth Bear was heavy, the sacred giant wolf was obviously not injured. The holy giant wolf was also embarrassed after being hit. It had always led a group of minions to fight against the enemy, but it didn't expect to be hit in the face by a stupid bear today. It was a shame. Without hesitation, the holy giant wolf used a holy combo. However, what the wolf didn't expect was that these 5 attacks, which could be said to be hit in an instant in 1 second, did not leave too big a scar on the Earth Bear. The holy combo is a move of attacking 5 times in a row at a very fast speed. Generally speaking, because the attack speed is too fast, these 5 attacks will hit the same part of the enemy, so it can tear a huge wound and cause huge damage. For example, when fighting against the spiky beast and the centaur, the holy giant wolf can directly tear a centaur pioneer in half with a holy combo. But this Earth Bear looked bloated and not very agile, but at the moment when the holy giant wolf hit the holy combo, it twisted its fat body quickly, causing the holy giant wolf's 5 consecutive attacks to hit 5 different places on it. With the Earth Bear's defensive power, the 5 claws only left 5 shallow claw marks on it, and not even much blood flowed out. In addition to its terrifying defensive power, this Earth Bear is also so agile. Yufei was surprised by the giant bear's performance. Seeing that the holy giant wolf could not gain the upper hand in the battle with the Earth Bear, Tyrande ordered the Night Elves to launch a long-range attack. For a moment, dozens of arrows and dozens of moon blades flew towards the huge body of the Earth Bear. The Earth Bear tried to dodge these attacks, and with a flash, it retreated more than 10 meters. However, the archer's arrows and the huntress's moon blades have a tracking effect. The arrows and moon blades flying in the air turned slightly, and continued to fly towards the Earth Bear. The Earth Bear was also startled, but quickly responded. Anyway, there is no way to dodge, so just bear it. The Earth Bear roared again, and the soil on the ground suddenly rolled up and quickly attached to the Earth Bear. In just a moment, according to Yufei's observation, the soil attached to the Earth Bear had exceeded 10 cubic meters. It is said that so much soil wrapped around the Earth Bear should make it look extremely bloated, but there is only a thin layer of soil on the Earth Bear's body. All the soil is compressed. The defensive power of this layer of soil is extremely amazing. The arrows of the archers and the moon blades of the huntress hit it, and only left a white mark. Even Luna's moon blade, which attacked casually, could not break this soil shell. Although Luna only attacked normally, it was terrifying enough. The holy giant wolf stretched out its claws and rushed towards the Earth Bear without any fear. At this time, the holy giant wolf had been blessed with the heart fire by the kobold diviner, and it also activated the holy guardian. At this time, the holy giant wolf's defensive power was comparable to that of the Earth Bear. The sacred giant wolf, whose defense was greatly enhanced, began to fight against the Earth Bear. The 2 giant beasts endured each other's attacks without dodging, and at the same time, they kept hitting each other with their claws or bare paws. This kind of fist, claw and palm fight made Yufei's sap boil, but he also knew that the duration of the sacred giant wolf's sacred protection skill was limited, unlike the Earth Bear, which could maintain the Earth Shell as long as it had magic power. So he didn't care about fighting alone, and ordered Tyrande, Avril, Luna and the Archer Sniper team to join the attack on the Earth Bear. THANKS Tatong and FIFA for the reward of 8888 starting coins. Thank for the reward of 100 starting coins. And Blood Moon Star Meteorite for the reward of 100 starting coins. Congratulations to Tong and Fifi for becoming the first guardian of this book. It is embarrassing for a man like me to let a girl be my guardian. Chapter 85 Aiming and Shooting. Although the elves with stronger attack power among these night elves also participated in the attack on the earth bear, the results achieved made you fairly frown. 6 elite archers with powerful shooting skills could only penetrate the earth shell of the earth bear after using their skills and could not cause any damage. Tyrann's burning arrows could penetrate the body of the earth bear, but the wounds caused were not considered to be a big damage compared to the huge body of the earth bear. As for Avril and Luna's attacks, they did not achieve much effect. The defense of this earth bear was too strong, even stronger than the emperor of the sharp-haired beast in the volcanic wasteland of course. This refers to the use of defensive magic. You fairly thought about it and thought of a way. If it is purely from the perspective of attack power, the glaive thrower, which has been doing nothing in the exploration journey, can achieve the goal of injuring or even killing the earth bear. After all, in addition to the extremely high attack power, the blades thrown by the glaive thrower are also very large, which can cut a large wound. However, this earth bear was not as bulky as it looked. It was very flexible when moving. If it was attacked by the glaive thrower, it would definitely be dodged. However, there was another way to achieve the same or even higher attack power as the glaive thrower, and that was Avril's new skill, aiming and shooting. The attack power of aiming and shooting in the best state could even reach 12 stars. Now that the earth bear and the holy wolf were entangled together, Avril could just retreat to her farthest attack distance and then use aiming and shooting in the best state. At this time, the duration of the holy guardian skill on the holy wolf had passed by nearly half. Avril did not dare to hesitate and quickly retreated to 1,200 meters away from the battlefield between the earth bear and the holy wolf. Then, Avril drew up her huge wooden bow and put an arrow on it. With the vision of the holy wolf, Avril could clearly see the earth bear, which met the prerequisite for aiming and shooting. Avril's body condensed a fierce momentum, but her hands did not seem to use too much strength. The wooden bow was not pulled to the full moon, and the arrow seemed to be just lazily placed on the bow. Suddenly, Avril released the hand that was pulling the bowstring, and the arrow flew out with a fierce breath in an instant, and at the same time, the momentum on Avril's body disappeared. This arrow seemed to be because Avril did not pull the bowstring to the full moon, and when it just flew out, the speed was not very fast. But the further it flew forward, the faster the speed of this arrow became, and the momentum condensed on the arrow became stronger and stronger. It seemed that as it shot forward, more and more of the power of the wind in the air condensed on this arrow, making its speed faster and faster, and its attack power higher and higher. Perhaps this is why the longer the attack distance of the aiming shooting skill, the higher the attack power. Puff, I thought that this arrow with the most perfect attack power of 12 stars would have a fierce collision with the earth shell outside the earth bear's body, but when the arrow really hit the earth bear, it only made a very small sound like a cone piercing cloth. Looking more carefully, there was a small hole in the earth shell attached to the earth bear's body. The arrow shot by aiming and shooting had penetrated the earth bear's defensive magic and hit the earth bear. When the arrow was approaching, the earth bear also felt a trace of danger and tried its best to dodge. But after crossing a distance of 1,200 meters, the speed of this arrow had reached an extremely terrifying level. It didn't dodge this attack. Although it avoided the targeted eyes, it was still shot in the forelimbs. The earth bear's defensive magic did not block the attack of the arrow, and its extremely powerful body did not cause any obstacles to this arrow with the maximum attack power. The sacred giant wolf closest to the earth bear felt his eyes blurry, and an arrow with a trail of blood pierced through the earth bear's forelimb and flew into the cave behind it. The attack of the 12 stars does not seem to be anything special from the literal meaning, but when the effect it achieved was clearly displayed in front of the eyes of the wolves and elves, it made all the wolves and elves clearly feel its power. The arrows shot by ordinary archers could not even tickle the earth bear, although the arrows shot by powerful shooting could barely penetrate the earth bear's defensive magic. They could not leave any traces on the earth bear's skin after penetrating the earth shell. Only Tyrann's burning arrows and Luna's skills could cause certain damage to the earth bear, and Avril's aiming shot not only easily penetrated the earth bear's defensive magic, but also shot through the earth bear's forelimb. After piercing the earth bear's forelimb, it penetrated the earth shell and shot into the cave behind the earth bear. This means that the arrow shot by the aiming shot can still have some power after piercing 2 layers of the earth bear's defensive magic and its own defense. But Avril's role is only this. After being severely injured by the aiming shot, in fact, it was not a serious injury, but one of its 4 legs could not be used flexibly. After that, the earth bear obviously paid more attention to attacks from other directions, instead of focusing on the bombardment with the holy wolf. In this way, the earth bear, which has a huge contrast to its size in terms of evasion ability, can dodge Avril's attack with its extremely fast reaction speed and evasion speed. This makes it difficult for Avril to shoot the earth bear again. After all, there is a distance of 1,200 meters between them, and the earth bear, who has been observing the surroundings, has enough time to react and dodge. Of course, if you get close to a certain range, you can make the earth bear have no time to react, but the attack power of aiming and shooting will be reduced a lot, and it can't cause any damage to the earth bear. This is simply a paradox. Yufei was a little depressed. Although he didn't focus on the bombardment with the holy giant wolf, the strength of the earth bear was much stronger than that of the holy giant wolf, and the situation was still in a stalemate. After a period of time, the duration of the holy giant wolf's holy guardian effect was about to expire. By then, with the strength of the earth bear, it will definitely defeat the holy giant wolf soon. In that case, although it can escape, this 8th level magic crystal and the energy mine under its feet will not be obtained. Ow, thank you for the reward of 100 starting coins for my appeasement. Please vote for Doomsday Fairy Wish on the Sanjiang page, and you can get 10 points of experience. I recommend a female-oriented book to everyone. It was written by a beautiful girl. Collect and recommend it. If possible, please leave a message in the book review section, and the message should be, just give up the world. Chapter 86 Nothingness plus beaten to death. No, we must think of a way out. We can't give up this energy mine. With this energy, the energy for upgrading to the ancient tree and subsequent buildings is sufficient. Apart from anything else, if we can get rid of this earth bear, we will get 50,000 energy. The 2 gold mines collected by Yufei can only be converted into 50,000 energy. At this time, the soul fire on the sacred giant wolf has disappeared. Without Tyrann's order, the kobold fortune teller consciously gave the sacred giant wolf this state again. But a soul fire alone is not enough. The effect of the sacred guardian skill is about to disappear. When the duration of the sacred guardian skill is reached, this battle will be lost. That's right. Kobold fortune teller. It has 5 skills, including nothingness. Yes, it's nothingness. This skill can be very useful in this situation. Earth bear, hehe, you're done. The earth bear slapped the holy wolf on the head again, and the holy wolf, whose holy guardian and heart fire effects had not yet disappeared, would naturally not be hurt. At the same time as the holy wolf struck back with a claw, the kobold diviner suddenly made a move. It held a dry staff in its hand, which was like a dead branch, in front of its eyes, and then cast the void. A wave that was difficult to detect with the naked eye hit the earth bear. Suddenly, the earth bear's body seemed to become transparent, and the holy wolf's claw also passed through the earth bear's body. Seeing this situation, Yufei's mind suddenly went wild. He was thinking that it was not visible in the game, but in reality, if a knife or other object was stuffed into the weight of the unit that was voided, then when the unit exited the void state, the knife would. Yufei couldn't help but feel a chill. Without Yufei's order, Tyrann, Avril and Luna launched attacks at the same time when the earth bear was voided. Of course, they all used their skills. Tyrann's burning arrow, Luna's moonlight, and Avril's aiming shot successively hit the earth bear in the void state. In addition to being immune to physical attacks and increasing the damage of magic attacks received in the void state, there is also a negative effect that the speed will become very slow in the void state. Although the earth bear dodged in time, all 3 attacks hit it. Sure enough, this attack achieved a great effect. After the earth bear in the void state was hit by 3 attacks, although it was in the void stage at this time, nothing could be seen, but from the earth bear's painful expression, this time it might be fatal damage to it. The duration of the void state is 10 seconds, but Tyrann and the others have more than one skill. Immediately after the previous wave of attacks, Tyrann's lunar arrow and Avril's concussive shot hit the earth bear again. Luna had no attack skills, so she had to stop attacking. As for why the elite archers with skills did not participate in the attack, it was because both the shadow arrows and the powerful shooting actually caused physical attack effects, so they did not participate in the attack on the Void Earth Bear. The duration of the void state was about to end, and the Earth Bear was not killed, but it was thought that, even if it recovered to its normal state, it would not have the strength to fight again. However, before it could recover, the Holy Giant Wolf gave it the final blow. Holy shock. A shining light wave shot out from the front of the Holy Giant Wolf, passed through the body of the Earth Bear, and hit a rock behind it, smashing the rock to pieces. After the Holy Giant Wolf released the shockwave, the Earth Bear just recovered from the void state, but after returning to its normal state, it could no longer attack the Giant Wolf in front of it. Holy shock is of course a magic attack, and under the influence of the void state, the damage caused by Holy shock to the Earth Bear has increased a lot. The Earth Bear, which had already endured 5 magical attacks, was hit by the Holy shock, so it was natural that it would not be spared. A huge brown-yellow body fell heavily to the ground. Although it was grass, it still stirred up a circle of dust. This Earth Bear, which had been the overlord of this area for a long time, fell under the siege of the exploration team. Of course, Yufei had no mercy at all. The humans in this alien world had nothing to do with him, let alone these monsters. In Yufei's eyes, these monsters were moving energy. The Holy Giant Wolf dug out the magic crystal of the Earth Bear, and it took a lot of effort during the process. The physical defense of the Earth Bear was also very strong. Wow, the 8th level magic crystal. 50,000 energy is in hand. If these magic crystals had not been brought to Yufei for him to absorb, he could have evolved to the ancient tree now. At this moment, Yufei was even considering whether to let Tyran take the existing magic crystals back to the wolf dog tribe and wait until he evolved to the ancient tree before migrating. But after thinking about it, I decided to forget it. It would take another day for Tyran to run back, and I could start migrating right away, so there was no need to rush. After the Earth Bear died, Yufei could safely explore the energy mines in the area. Through Tyrant, Yufei transmitted more mental power and explored deep underground. The result of the exploration made Yufei very excited. The reserves of this energy mine are a full 200,000 units. This is not a gold mine, which has to be converted into energy at a ratio of 10:1, but an energy mine that can be used directly after mining. A full 200,000 units of energy. How many ancient trees, how many moon wells, and how many night elves can be trained? After letting Tyrant and several archers enter the Earth Bear's cave to search, the exploration team settled down. During the search of the Earth Bear's lair, there was no such a bloody thing as finding an Earth Bear cub, but 2 level 6 magic crystals and 1 level 7 magic crystal were unexpected surprises. Alas, I really don't have the fate of being the protagonist of a YA novel. Yufei is a little depressed. He still hopes to cultivate an Earth Bear. Although this Earth Bear was easily solved under the siege of the exploration team, its combat effectiveness is unquestionable. To be honest, the Earth Bear only used offensive magic, and did not use offensive earth magic on units other than the Holy Giant Wolf, otherwise this hunt would have lost some units. After all, judging from the excavated Warcraft corpses, the Earth Bear's offensive magic is also very powerful. THANKS Tatong and Fifi for the reward of 5888 Kidian coins, and Frindx for 1764 Kidian coins, Shwilin for 300 Kidian coins, and Zuayuzingan for 100 Kidian coins. By the way, Shwilin, you are not like this. You are urging me to update 8 copies for 12,000 yuan. Do you want to tar me to death, or do you want to tar me to death? It can't be completed. But 6,000 is possible. Chapter 87, 100 Trees Run Wild. In fact, Yufei felt a little sorry that this Earth Bear was killed like this. This bear is much stronger than the bear transformed by the Claw Druid. If the Claw Druids under his command can transform into Earth Bears, they can sweep the enemy without other arms. Imagine hundreds or even thousands of Earth Bears charging or using Earth magic together. Unfortunately, with his current ability, he is still unable to control such a powerful creature. If he hadn't taken advantage of it, he would not have been able to kill this Earth Bear. What's more regrettable is the little bear cubs. If there were bear cubs, it would be possible to cultivate a team of Earth Bears, but unfortunately this is a solitary Earth Bear. After Yufei migrated from the original base to the Wolf Dog Point man camp, the wolf cubs of the wild wolves have been staying around Yufei. These wolf cubs are almost adults, and they will be another batch of combat power. At this time, Yufei had already converted all the gold collected from the Wolf Dog Point man camp into energy and consumed it. Counting the moonlight energy absorbed this night, Yufei transformed 8 more ancient protectors. At this time, the number of ancient protectors around him has reached 54, and 9 of them are elite, which is already a huge force. The 9 elite ancient protectors can use roots to entangle and restrict the enemy in batches, and then there are the overwhelming boulders. I believe that even the earth bear will die in hatred when encountering such an offensive. You must know that the boulders thrown by the ancient protectors are 1/4 the size of the earth bear, and they hit a certain place with great force. Even with the defense of the earth bear, even if it fails to break its defensive shell, the continuous boulders can kill it with impact and shock. But what makes Yufei a little depressed is that although there are already 54 ancient protectors, there are still no elite ancient protectors. At this time, there were only 76 ancient trees that Yufei had moved with the planting technique. Yufei only hoped that among these ancient trees, there would be an ancient protector that could reach the elite standard after transformation. But now was not the time to consider these things. Yufei's long-awaited migration could already begin. With the experience of the last migration, Yufei was familiar with the route. This time, he did not put the ancient protector into the life space. Although the life space had been expanded, it still could not accommodate so many ancient protectors. Anyway, the ancient protector could also move, so he just followed along. It was still a replica of the last migration. After he and the ancient protector stood up, Yufei used the planting technique to pull up the 76 ancient trees, and then more than 100 trees marched towards the south. For Tyrant and the others, it was only a 2-hour journey from the Wolf Dog tribe to the volcanic wasteland, but even with the blessing of the planting technique, it took Yufei and the more than 100 trees around him 7 hours to reach the volcanic wasteland. The migration was very boring. Yufei had been casting the planting technique to restore the circulation of the Yuan Lingwood Key. Fortunately, he did not need to control every tree at the same time, but just grasped the general direction. 7 hours later, it was already dusk, and Yufei finally arrived at the volcanic wasteland with more than 50 of his brothers and more than 70 reserve brothers. The next journey will be more difficult. Not to mention anything else, just the length of the road will require Yufei to lead the ancient trees for a day and a night. Moreover, the dry soil will make it more difficult to move forward. After leading the ancient trees to the volcanic wasteland for a while, Yufei secretly cried out in his heart that it was not good. Although the volcanic wasteland is not as hot as before, and the ground temperature has dropped a lot, the dry soil still brings great trouble to the migrating ancient trees including Yufei. Because the land is too dry and there is no nutrition in the ground, the roots of the migrating ancient trees will gradually dehydrate of course. For Yufei and the ancient protectors, it is the dehydration of the wooden legs. The most affected are the 76 ancient trees that Yufei pushed forward with the planting technique. Unlike Yufei and the ancient protectors, these ancient trees did not turn their roots into wooden legs to move forward. Instead, under the effect of the planting technique, they directly moved their roots through the soil to move forward. First, the soil of the volcanic wasteland became hardened because it was too dry, making it more difficult for these ancient trees to move forward. Second, their roots had a larger heating area, making them more likely to dehydrate. Before they had even walked 1/10 of the way through the volcanic wasteland, the roots of several relatively young ancient trees were already on the verge of complete dehydration. This was not a solution. The ancient trees were all dead, so what could they use to transform the ancient protectors? After thinking about it, Yufei tried to use the moisturizing technique. Anyway, these trees were about to die, so he might as well treat the dead trees as living trees. The green mist enveloped the more than 100 trees, and under the nourishment of the Yuan Lingwood Key, all the ancient trees quickly regained their vitality. After the ancient trees whose roots were almost completely dried up were wrapped in green mist, their dry roots quickly returned to their original state, and from the green leaves, all the ancient trees seemed to be more energetic than when they were rooted in the soil. Having found a solution, we can naturally move forward, but new problems have arisen. Originally, it was not a big burden for Yufei to just use the planting technique, as long as he could recover after using it 3 times, but now he has to use the moisturizing technique once every period of time. Although Yufei can still afford it, the time spent on regaining control of the Yuan Lingwood Key has increased a lot, and the speed of advancement has also slowed down a lot. According to Yufei's calculations, the time to reach the Warcraft Mountains may be postponed by another day. Damn it, the Warcraft Mountains are right in front of us, and the Evolution Ancient Tree is right in front of us, but the speed of advancement is so slow. The most annoying thing is the feeling of being dragged down when you are about to succeed. Yufei had a bold idea in his mind. Without hesitation, Yufei's motto was to do it as soon as he thought of it, and he released his terrifying huge mental power. He used his spiritual power to wrap every ancient tree, including himself, and then used his spiritual power to bring the power to push forward to each ancient tree, causing all the ancient trees to move forward at a rapid speed. Then, there was a period of time when hundreds of trees ran wildly. Under the impetus of Yufei's spiritual power, all the ancient trees were like full of springs, running towards the south at a very fast speed, raising huge dust on the dry volcanic wasteland. The 76 ancient trees that moved forward under the effect of the planting technique plowed dozens of gullies on the ground. Chapter 88. Promotion begins. Originally, it was difficult for mental power to act on matter. Only when mental power reached a certain level could it act on the material world and perform actions such as controlling objects with the mind and bending a spoon with the eyes. If Yufei had not been born with extremely strong mental power as the Tree of Life, he would not have been able to use mental power as a booster. With the blessing of the planting technique and the promotion of Yufei's mental power, more than 100 ancient trees crossed the volcanic wasteland in about 15 hours, which was much faster than the originally expected 1 day and 1 night. At this time, Yufei was extremely tired. During the migration, Yufei spent his time releasing spells and restoring the spirit of the wood. At the same time, he had to release mental power to push the ancient trees forward. He was really exhausted. After 15 hours, a night had passed. According to the time of the Earth, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Because he spent the night in migration, Yufei did not absorb the moonlight energy. But he didn't care about this little energy now. If he took root to absorb the moonlight energy and delayed the migration, it would be a loss of the big picture. After passing through the volcanic wasteland, it was naturally the forest at the junction of the Warcraft Mountains and the volcanic wasteland. After entering the forest, Yufei did not stop, but continued to urge the ancient trees forward. He could not wait to take root in the newly discovered energy mine. At this time, Tyrant had led the exploration team to wait at the edge of the forest. The wild monsters in the volcanic wasteland were cleared out, but there were still many Warcraft in this forest. Yufei was a person who cherished his life. Although there were 54 ancient protectors as guards, the ancient protectors who stood up were much weaker than when they took root, and they changed from long-range attacks to melee attacks, so Yufei did not feel safe. Under the protection of the exploration team led by Tyrant, after another 4 hours of trekking, Yufei finally brought more than 100 ancient trees to the cave where the earth bear lived. Although he was always anxious when he really arrived here and felt the energy atmosphere around him, Yufei settled down instead. After allocating the rooting areas of the ancient protectors and the ancient trees in an orderly manner, Yufei also slowly planted a huge root system right above the energy mine. After planting the roots, a prompt really appeared in his mind. A resource collection point has been discovered. Do you want to assimilate it? Of course, the answer is yes. However, before that, Yufei released all the 20 elves contained in his life space and began to collect wood. Half an hour cannot be wasted. Although wood is still abundant for the time being, it still takes a lot to research technology. Then, Yufei's roots began to travel underground and soon entangled the energy mine he found. An energy mine has been discovered with 200,000 units of energy ore. It will take 30 minutes to assimilate. Assimilating. While assimilating the energy mine, Yufei asked Tyrant to bring all the existing magic crystals to him and absorb the energy in these magic crystals. 2 level 4 magic crystals, 6 level 5 magic crystals, 5 level 6 magic crystals, 2 level 7 magic crystals, and the level 8 magic crystal of the Earth Bear contributed 82,600 units of energy to Yufei. Half an hour later, the energy ore was assimilated, and Yufei selected 5 of the 20 elves who were collecting wood to start collecting energy ore. Sure enough, after the 5 elves followed Yufei's roots to the ground, the familiar prompt appeared again. The energy mine can currently accommodate the upper limit of collection units. This upper limit problem made Yufei very depressed. How could there be an upper limit for a source collection? The energy mine is so large. However, Yufei also thought that it might be that the elves need to maintain themselves when collecting resources underground, and their roots can only maintain 5. If the ore source is excavated like the human race and the orcs in Warcraft, there will be no upper limit for the collection unit. Perhaps we can find some specialized miners in the future? This way, the speed of resource acquisition will be much faster. Yufei thought. 5 elves can collect 100 units of energy ore every 10 minutes, which is twice as fast as collecting gold and then converting it. These energy mines do not need to be converted like gold mines, but directly generate energy income. In a whole day, 14,400 units of energy can be obtained. Well, this energy mine can't last too long, but I think there should be a lot of such mineral sources in the Warcraft mountains. 10 days is enough to find a new large mine. After moving out the Elder Altar, Hunter Hall and Moon Well in his body, Yufei was ready to start upgrading. With the energy converted from magic crystals, he was already enough to upgrade to the ancient tree. As for why all the buildings in the life space were moved out, it was naturally because he was afraid that something would happen when he was promoted. Although there are more resources now than enough to build these buildings again, it is always better to be careful. After adjusting his state, Yufei took a deep breath and issued an order to upgrade to the ancient tree. This happened to be the 15th day since Yufei crossed over to the Slays continent. Yufei thought, upgrading to the ancient tree so quickly, maybe he could upgrade to the eternal tree within half a year. At this time, he did not expect that upgrading from the ancient tree to the eternal tree would require so many resources. The existing energy suddenly dropped to more than 50,000 points, and Yufei closed his eyes and began this long-awaited promotion. At the moment before the promotion began, Yufei seemed to have a spiritual blessing and started to operate the Yuan Mu Zenju at the same time. At first, Yufei's body did not change much, but after about 10 minutes, wisps of light green mist gradually began to gather towards Yufei. As time went on, the mist became more and more, and the accumulated mist gradually wrapped Yufei, and the color began to deepen gradually. Soon, in the eyes of Tyrant and the others, Yufei turned into an extremely large dark green mist. As the mist expanded, Tyrant led the wild wolves and the night elves to retreat outward. As for the ancient protectors, who had taken root, they would not move on their own without Yufei's order, so they were soon wrapped up in the mist. The dark green mist grew larger and larger, although it stopped spreading upward. After reaching a height of about 100 meters, it continued to spread in all directions. Soon, the open space of about 1 square kilometer in front of the Earth Bear cave was covered by the dark green mist. At this time, all the ancient protectors were wrapped in the mist, and the mist stopped expanding and rolling. No one knew what was happening in it. THANKS to the rewards of post-era VB 588 starting coins, Yearly 200 starting coins, Blood Moon Star Meteorite 100 starting coins, and a large resistance 100 starting coins. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, Violent Tusk Pig. The thick dark green fog enveloped an area of 1 kilometer in radius, and then it stopped expanding outwards, but began to rise again, higher and higher. Soon, a dark green fog group that looked like an inverted pot lid appeared on the original open space. This dark green fog group was extremely large and could be seen from a long distance. Naturally, it caused a commotion in this mountainous area, and the roars of countless monsters echoed in the mountains and forests. Soon, some monsters that were relatively close appeared in front of Tyrant and the others. None of these monsters were too advanced. Most of them were level 4, 5, or 6 monsters, and there were about 20 of them in total. These monsters seemed to be heading for the dark green fog group, where Euphony was. When only a few appeared at the beginning, they just carefully hid in the surrounding woods and bushes, but when there were about 20 of them, they showed an atmosphere of eagerness to try. Tyrant naturally led the wild wolves and the night elves to guard the periphery of the dark green fog. If it weren't for the fact that the cave of the earth bear was backed by a dangerous peak and there was only a forest in this direction, it would be difficult for the night elves to prevent the monsters from entering the dark green fog with their existing troops. When the number of monsters rose to 30, the monsters that had been waiting for a long time finally couldn't help it. Although they felt a hint of danger from the dozens of wolves and some upright creatures in front of them, the wisdom of the intermediate monsters was not very high. The desire to rush into the dark green fog eventually controlled them to attack the troops led by Tyrant. HMPH, a level 6 violent tusk pig rushed out of the bushes first. This monster was used to being domineering in this area. With the defensive shell, formed by pine resin and stones and the powerful attack power when charging, it even dared to compete with the level 7 monsters when it was violent. The violent tusk pig was very powerful when it charged. It lowered its head and pointed its 2 huge tusks at the night elves before charging. The other monsters were watching the show from the side. They were naturally happy to have such a stupid but powerful pig to explore the way for them. However, the scene that happened next made these intermediate monsters with low intelligence feel cold. The violent tusk pig rushed to the camp of the wild wolf with great momentum. Suddenly, it felt a flash in front of its eyes, and a giant wolf with a golden body appeared in front of it. This wolf looks very strong. An idea popped up in the violent tusk pig's head with a very small brain capacity, but it soon threw this idea behind its head. Even ordinary level 7 monsters did not dare to resist its impact head on. This wolf was just a little brighter in color, so there was nothing to worry about. The one that appeared in front of the violent tusk pig was naturally the holy giant wolf. The holy giant wolf's golden fur was quite cool. This was also in line with the theory of biological evolution. The more powerful the creature, the brighter the color on its body will be, because they don't need protective color at all, but hope that bright colors will attract prey. The idea of the violent tusk pig is good. Indeed, if it is only a level 7 monster, it may not be able to stop its attack. But the sacred giant wolf is equivalent to the legendary level 8 creature of Warcraft, and it can fight with the legendary peak earth bear for a long time. It is not a small level 6 monster. The sacred giant wolf rushed up to meet the momentum of the violent tusk pig. Facing the 2 fangs shining with pale white light, it stretched out its huge wolf claws and rushed up. Then, the sacred giant wolf stood up, and its 2 front paws flashed countless after images, and then it turned and leaped back to the wild wolf camp. The violent tusk pig seemed to feel nothing and rushed forward for more than 10 meters. Could it be that this arrogant wolf did not cause any harm to the stupid pig? This thought occurred to all the onlookers. However, the scene that made them shudder happened at this moment. The violent tusk pig that rushed out more than 10 meters suddenly split into several pieces. The sharp-eyed monsters even found that one of the violent tusk pig's indestructible tusks was actually cut in half. For a moment, the violent tusk pig's internal organs and blood were scattered all over the ground. This was naturally the effect of the holy giant wolf's holy combo skill. Under the instantaneous 5 claws of the holy combo, the violent tusk pig's thick skin with strong defense did not play any role, and was directly torn into several pieces by the holy giant wolf. Even the tusks that looked extremely strong were hit by the holy giant wolf's claws at the same point and split in half. All the monsters around took a breath of cold air. Although they looked down on the stupid brain of this violent tusk pig, its strength was one of the strongest among these monsters. But the giant wolf with golden fur actually dismembered the violent tusk pig with one move, which means that none of the monsters present could survive the claws of the golden giant wolf. And there are only so many monsters in this area for the time being, and it will take some time for monsters from farther areas to arrive. Not to mention, whether those monsters will arrive is still a question. After all, they were just surprised by the appearance of a huge unidentified object around their territory, and they instinctively felt that the dark green gas could bring them some benefits, so they came here. As for the monsters in other places, they were not around their territory anyway, and no one would be bored enough to cross many other monsters' territories to join in the fun, which could cause disputes. Thinking of this, some monsters who were eager to try suppressed their restless hearts and calmed down. Some level 4 and 5 monsters even wanted to retreat, but they were not ready to act. The tyrant did not mean to let them go. The attack of the violent tusk pigs has shown that these monsters have ill intentions towards the father god, so let's nip the danger in the bud. Should we wait until more monsters appear before taking action? By then, these troops may not be able to stop the charge of all the monsters. Besides, these monsters will be killed by the Night Elves. We came to the Monster Mountain to explore the mineral resources and collect magic crystals. Although there is a large energy mine now, the father god will be very happy if there is more energy. If these monsters are distributed in their own territory, they will have to lead the army to kill them one by one. Now that they are all gathered here, isn't it a good time to harvest magic crystals? Facing these monsters who are rushing to die, Tyrant's cold face showed a sneer and issued an attack order. WOW. After this chapter is released, the Eternal Tree will be full of 200,000 words. Shouldn't we give some encouragement? Chapter 90 Easy Solution. The first to attack were naturally the archers with the longest range. Nearly 100 arrows seemed to have eyes, and not a single one missed, and hit the monsters hiding in the woods and bushes. This was like poking a hornet's nest, and the seemingly quiet woods and bushes suddenly became boiling. Several level 4 monsters were unfortunately shot by the elite archers and died directly. This caused the remaining level 4 monsters and some level 5 monsters to retreat in panic, while some level 5 monsters and the 4 level 6 monsters present launched a counterattack. At this time, the wild wolves had already rushed towards these monsters under the leadership of the sacred giant wolf. 2 of the 4 level 6 monsters that launched the counterattack were inclined to close combat like the earth bear. These 2 monsters, called angry apes, rushed directly towards the momentum of the wild wolves reunion. The remaining 2 level 6 magic beasts, the wind fox of the wind system and the lightning leopard of the rare thunder system, hid in the woods and launched magic attacks on the wild wolves. Countless tiny wind blades suddenly appeared on the road where the wild wolves were charging, constantly moving in place and cutting the air. This is a level 6 magic wind blade formation, which can form countless wind blades in a certain area to cut the enemy. This swift fox is also smart. He knows that if the magic is cast on the place where the wild wolves are now, they will be rushed out of the magic attack range in an instant. So the swift fox made a prediction and cast the wind blade formation on the road where the wild wolves meet again. But it did not expect the sensitivity of the wild wolves. The ones rushing in the front are the sacred giant wolf and the 9 horror wolves. With their superb strength, although the wind blade formation is already in front of them, they still dodge the attack range of this magic and go around from both sides. Although the wild wolves behind were weaker, the collective nature of the wolf pack made them habitually follow the leader wolf to dodge to the sides, while the leader wolf in front of them evaded. In addition, the wind blade formation among them was originally farther away, and none of them could not stop and rush into the attack range of the wind blade formation. This means that the magic of the swift wind fox was in vain. Level 6 magic is also a big burden for level 6 magic beasts. The swift wind fox did not release any higher level magic next, but just kept casting wind blades to attack the wild wolves. However, these attacks were nothing to the wild wolves. The attack of the lightning leopard really hit the camp of the wild wolves. I saw a lightning snake rushing out of the woods and hitting a terrifying wolf, and then the lightning began to wander in the camp of the wild wolves. This is the small chain lightning of the level 6 thunder magic. The characteristics of thunder magic are that it is difficult to dodge and paralyze. Even with the agility of the wild wolves, they were unable to dodge. A dozen wild wolves were twitching all over and fell to the ground due to the electric shock. Although they did not receive fatal injuries, they could not participate in the battle for the time being. After all, the wild wolves were only creatures equivalent to level 4 magic beasts. Even though they were relatively more powerful than ordinary level 4 magic beasts due to their skills, they were still relatively weak under level 6 magic. The horror wolves, which were equivalent to level 6 magic beasts or even stronger, were also hit by the small chain lightning, but they only trembled for a moment and continued to run forward. As for the magic attacks of some other level 5 magic beasts, they did not have any effect. Most of them were dodged by the wild wolves. At the same time, these magic beasts were being shot by archers, and the threat was much smaller. Under Avril's command, the archers were divided into several groups and concentrated their firepower on killing these insidious magic beasts that were hiding in the forest and bushes and casting magic. Often, more than 10 arrows were shot at the same time. At one place in the woods or bushes, a scream was heard from this place, and soon there was no sound. Looking at the wild wolves, 2 angry apes also brought several level 5 monsters that preferred hand-to-hand combat and collided with the wild wolves. However, these monsters were destined to be in tragedy. They were still about 50 meters away, and the sacred giant wolf unceremoniously released a sacred shockwave. The golden ball of light plowed a deep mark on the grass and hit several fearless monsters. The sacred shockwave has a gorgeous sound and light effect. The golden ball of light will also pull out a gorgeous tail flame while moving at a very fast speed. But under this beauty, there is a very strong power. Among the monsters that prefer hand-to-hand combat, only one angry ape dodged in time and completely avoided this shockwave. Among the other monsters, those level 5 monsters were hit head-on and were almost turned into meat patties by the shockwave. The worst was an agile swift-winged wolf. Although it reacted in time, it only dodged halfway, and the back half of its body was beaten into a pulp by the shockwave. In addition to the angry ape that dodged, one of the arms of another angry ape was also beaten into a pulp by the shockwave, but it survived. Since then, only these 2 were left among the melee monsters that rushed towards the savage wolf. Under the skills of the holy giant wolf, which was equivalent to an 8th level monster, these 5th and 6th level monsters naturally had no power to resist. The 2 angry apes were also torn into pieces by the 9 horror wolves that followed one after another, and the holy giant wolf didn't even move a finger. After the swift-winged fox, who had been carefully casting wind blades, and the lightning leopard, who was shuttling between the trees to avoid arrows, were eliminated by Tyrant, Avril, and Luna with their skills, this asymmetric battle ended. This battle was really meaningless. Those monsters were so obsessed that they attacked Tyrant and the others with a futile effort. After digging out the magic crystals from the bodies of the killed monsters, Tyrant once again commanded the feral wolves and the Night Elves to set up a formation and continue to defend on this piece of grass. Originally, there would be no more danger if it continued like this. There were not many monsters around, and the monsters farther away did not have the time to rush over. Waves of intermediate monsters were just here to deliver magic crystals. Level 7 was a watershed. Monsters from level 7 to level 9 were all high level monsters. At this time, the monsters had a high level of intelligence and would not be affected too much by instinct. Naturally, they would not rush to participate in the attack of these intermediate monsters. But things would not always go according to Tyrant and the others' wishes, and the situation soon changed again. Thanks to Schwilin for the reward of 10,000 starting coins. Thanks to Yagandasi for 100 starting coins, Zuioxingayan for 100 starting coins, and Blind Pythagoras for the reward of 100 starting coins. Recommend a book. Chapter 91, Flaming Lion. As time went by, the dark green mist, where Euphony was located, did not change in size, but the color became darker. In connection with this, the batches of attacking monsters became more and more frequent. At this time, even the wild wolves and the night elves could feel the attraction of Euphony's location, but they would not be affected by this. Tyrant was also a little anxious at this time. Under the current situation, I'm afraid that more and more monsters will come to attack, and it is possible that high-level monsters will gradually be affected. Sure enough, after another wave of mid-level monsters attacking, like they were sending themselves to death, high-level monsters appeared for the first time. Just like the fire cloud leopard encountered when entering the monster mountain range, this time, the one leading a group of mid-level monsters to attack was also a level 7 fire monster, the flaming lion. Like the earth bear, the flaming lion is also a natural high-level monster. Adult flaming lions have the strength of level 7 monsters, and the stronger ones can reach level 8. This flaming lion is much stronger than the fire cloud leopard. In addition, this flaming lion has a group of followers, so Tyrant has to be serious. This flaming lion is really like the Demon King in Journey to the West. It leads all the fire beasts. There are a lot of intermediate beasts like flame rats and explosive wildebeests, and they are very imposing. From a distance, these fire beasts released the most common skill in fire magic under the command of the flaming lion, Fireball. Fireball is a panacea. It is often used by fire beasts from level 1 to level 10. It is a level 1 magic, but as the caster's strength increases, the power of Fireball will increase a lot. This round of Fireball volleys is not a big deal for a single one. A wild wolf can easily handle it. But if dozens of fireballs fly at the same time, it is not so fun. These fireballs made the surrounding environment suddenly hot, and the leaves of some trees were curled up when the fireballs flew over. These fireballs came together, which was comparable to the fire rain of the centaur wizard. However, unlike the fire rain, these fireballs were only condensed by fire element, unlike the fire rain of the centaur wizard, which also had a physical attachment of meteorites. This also provided Tyrant and others with the possibility of interception. Swish, 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 dozens of arrows shot towards the fireballs. These fireballs were not enemies, but just a spell, so the arrows shot by the archers would not have the effect of automatic tracking. But the archers of the Night Elves naturally did not rely on automatic tracking to get by. Their own archery skills were also excellent, and almost every fireball was hit by an arrow. After being hit by the arrow, the magic structure of the fireball was destroyed, and then it collapsed, turning into countless sparks that scattered in the air, and naturally it did not bring any harm. Only one huge fireball was not hit by the arrows of the archers, and it continued to fly towards the wild wolves and the Night Elves. This fireball was fired by the Flame Lion. With the powerful mental power of the high-level magic beast, the Flame Lion controlled its fireball to avoid the arrows aimed at the fireball, making it the only survivor. But the Flame Lion did not stay happy for long. Tyrant took action. Drawing the bow and arrow, an arrow flashing with a fiery red light shot towards the Flame Lion's fireball. The speed of this arrow was so fast that the Flame Lion, who was a little complacent, did not react before it hit its fireball. After Tyrant's scorching arrow hit the fireball, it did not disintegrate the fireball like other arrows. Instead, as the arrow passed through, the fireball became smaller and smaller. When the arrow completely passed through the fireball, this fireball, which was originally as big as the head of the sacred giant wolf, was left with only a little spark, which flickered and went out. After the scorching arrow passed through the fireball, the fiery red color on the arrow became even brighter, and it shot towards the Flame Lion without slowing down. It seemed that the scorching arrow absorbed the power of the fireball. The scorching arrow reached the Flame Lion in an instant, and the Flame Lion just reacted and subconsciously slapped the red arrow with its claws. Then, boom, the Flame Lion was surrounded by a ball of flames. These flames did not cause any great damage to the Flame Lion, a high-level fire beast, but the ring of fire that spread out affected other monsters around. Although these intermediate monsters were also fire beasts, their resistance was obviously not as good as that of the Flame Lion. After being burned by the flames from the enhanced scorching arrow, they all suffered considerable damage. A level 4 fire rat that was closer was even roasted by this wave of flames. The Flame Lion had no time to care about his younger brother at this time. The flame of the scorching arrow did not cause any harm to it, but it felt that the claws that were hitting the scorching arrow suddenly paused, and then there was a heart-wrenching pain. Roar! The Flame Lion let out a painful roar. Its claws were pierced by Tyrant's scorching arrow, and the arrow shot directly into the chest. Fortunately, the claws blocked the arrow, so that the arrow only penetrated the Flame Lion's chest a little, and did not penetrate very deep. Oh, Tyrant fucked the Flame Lion. Otherwise the Flame Lion might have been killed directly by this arrow. While the Flame Lion was still howling in pain, Avril and Luna's attacks also arrived. Under the aiming and moonlight, the Flame Lion was severely injured, and then Tyrant's next scorching arrow hit the Flame Lion's neck with its neck wide open. This time, without the claws blocking it, the arrow sank deeply into the neck of the Flame Lion, taking away its last bit of vitality. A level 7 monster died without any resistance under the joint attack of Tyrant, Avril and Luna's skills. After the Flame Lion died, the other intermediate fire monsters were defeated by the charge of the sacred giant wolf and the savage wolves. After digging out the magic crystal, Tyrant's face looked very solemn. Although the flame lion was easily solved, it proved that the higher level monsters had also been affected to a certain extent and began to attack the place where the father god was. Now it's just a level 7 flame lion. I'm afraid that there will be more and stronger monsters launching attacks like this later. You know, most high level monsters have many younger brothers. I have to go out tomorrow. I'm so entangled. The world is miserable because I don't have any manuscripts saved. I may only be able to update one chapter tomorrow. Chapter 92. Changes in advancement. As expected, Tyrann's sensitive senses soon sensed a huge momentum approaching from afar, and she slowly moved forward. This is definitely not just a level 7 monster. Tyrant felt that this momentum was even not much less than that of the Earth Bear. This should be a peak level 8 monster. However, among high level monsters, there are very few monsters that live alone like the Earth Bear. This level 8 monster must have brought many mid-level monsters and even level 7 monsters. Tyrant was solemn at this time. The last time she killed the peak level 8 Earth Bear, it was a trick. Although the Earth Bear specialized in defense and was difficult to kill, it was enough to show the strength of the level 8 monster. Now she is about to face a monster of the same level as the Earth Bear, and this monster is also leading an unknown number of brothers. It is also a great test for the wild wolves and the Night Elves. Tyrant involuntarily moved her eyes to the sky. In the sky, a dark shadow was hovering. It was the red dragon hatched in the crater. In the battle against the Earth Bear, the red dragon did not participate in the battle because it did not have any single super attack skills and its level was much lower than that of the Earth Bear. After Eupheny entered the advanced state, although there were several waves of monsters attacking, there was no need for the red dragon to participate in the battle. After all, it only had an air advantage and an improvement in the durability aura, nothing else. But now, Tyrant was thinking about it. Speaking of level 8 monsters, Tyrant would definitely not be afraid. After all, level 8 monsters as difficult to kill as the Earth Bear died in their hands. No matter how powerful other level 8 monsters are, they are not as difficult to kill as the Earth Bear, right? Tyrant was worried about the monster army led by the level 8 monsters. Apart from anything else, if a few level 7 monsters were driven by the unknown level 8 monster and also launched an attack here, it would be enough for Tyrant and the others to be in a state of panic, not to mention the huge number of low and medium level monsters. At that time, facing the tide of low and medium level monsters and several extremely powerful high level monsters, Tyrant would not dare to say that she could definitely defend this place. At that time, perhaps she would have to rely on Reed. Tyrant silently looked at the red dragon still hovering in the air. If Reed's dragon power could deter low and medium level monsters, those high level monsters would not be able to cause any trouble. While Tyrant and the others were nervously guarding Eupheny, Eupheny also reached a critical juncture. Since the order to upgrade, Eupheny's consciousness has been in an unprecedentedly clear state, but it is difficult to release his mental power, and he can't even control his own tree body. He is like a bystander, quietly watching the changes inside and outside his body. As 32,000 units of energy were consumed, Eupheny's tree body gradually underwent earth-shaking changes. Under the impact of energy, he saw that the tree veins in his body gradually became wider. When the energy began to circulate in the expanded tree veins, a continuous green breath suddenly surged from the outside world. As a bystander, Eupheny's spirit body clearly recognized these breaths. These green breaths were mixed with many kinds of spiritual energy, but they were all wood related. According to the information in Yuan Muzenju, he identified these spiritual energies one by one. Among these wood-related spiritual energies, there were the wood essence and yi wood spiritual energy mentioned before, as well as other wood-related spiritual energies that Eupheny had never seen before, such as Jian Ki and Diling Wood Ki. After these mixed wood-related spiritual energies entered Eupheny's body, no matter which kind they were originally, they were quickly transformed into Yuan Ling Wood Ki. Although Eupheny's spirit body was watching all this as a bystander, he still felt his body swell. However, the spiritual energy that poured in and was transformed was also being consumed rapidly. Eupheny also felt that he seemed to have changed a lot, and a lot of information came out of his mind. It happened that Eupheny didn't need to control his body at this time, and his consciousness was idly observing all this, so he naturally accepted all this information. This information is about the buildings that Yufei can build after advancing to the ancient tree and some subsequent changes. Through this information, Yufei learned that, after advancing to the ancient tree, he can build the ancient tree of wind and the ancient tree of knowledge, and train new types of soldiers. At the same time, the second level technology of the hunter hole will be unlocked and become researchable. There are also the moonblade skills of the female hunter and the ancient tree of war and the archer's riding horned eagle skills that can be studied. As for the changes of the elder altar and the miracle ancient tree that Yufei is more concerned about after his advancement, these information are not included. Maybe he needs to explore it himself after the advancement is completed. As he gradually absorbed this information, the changes in his body gradually calmed down. Yufei could feel that his body had become tougher at this time. At the same time, several light balls appeared around his body and slowly rotated around the tree. This seems to be a successful advancement. I remember that the ancient tree in Warcraft was surrounded by several elves. Although I can't control my body now and can't specifically sense those light balls, it looks like they are elves. It is said that Yufei's advancement is completed here. He can carry out a round of vigorous construction plus violent military campaign, and then summon a second hero, research new technology, and then command a group of younger brothers to kill all around, plunder more resources, and move towards the next level of the eternal tree. But the situation has changed. Originally, the spiritual energy in Yufei's body had gradually calmed down. When everything returned to the calm state before the advancement, Yufei should be able to control his body and then carry out the above activities. But an accident happened. As mentioned earlier, when issuing the command to advance, Yufei subconsciously or habitually began to operate the Yuanmu Zenju. At the beginning, when all kinds of mixed spiritual energy poured into Yufei's body, the Yuanmu Zenju was still running at a normal speed. But when more and more spiritual energy poured into his body and washed Yufei's body together with that energy, the operation of the Yuanmu Zenju was driven by the spiritual energy and was forced to speed up. At the same time, there was a situation that Yufei just couldn't control his body. This caused him to be unable to control the Yuanmu Zenju to slow down the speed. As more and more spiritual energy poured in, the speed of the Yuanmu Zenju became faster and faster. It just so happened that the wood grain in Yufei's body, which was equivalent to the meridians, was also expanding and widening at the same time, so there would be no phenomenon that the operation of the Yuanmu Zenju would be restricted by the narrow meridians. Under the superposition of various factors, the Yuanmu Zenju was like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, and the operation of the formula soon reached a terrifying speed. At the beginning, the influx of spiritual energy forced the Yuanmu Zenju to operate, but when the advancement was almost completed, the external spiritual energy stopped pouring in, and the Yuan Lingwood Key in the body gradually calmed down. The Yuanmu Zenju stopped working. Well, at the beginning, I was running properly, but you kidnapped me and forced me to run wildly. Now I run away quickly, but you don't want to continue. Is it that easy? The arrogant Yuanmu Zenju not only did not slow down the operation speed as the spiritual energy calmed down, but continued to speed up like a sports car without brakes. When advancing earlier, the Yuan Lingwood Key in Yufei's body became active from the original stagnant water, which gave the Yuanmu Zenju an opportunity to absorb a lot of Yuan Lingwood Key and make it much stronger. After the wood grain in Yufei's body widened and expanded, the Yuanmu Zenju absorbed the Yuan Lingwood Key at a nearly predatory speed to strengthen itself. At this time, the Yuanmu Zenju was running at a very fast speed, and it gradually became the master. It was no longer coerced by the spiritual energy flowing into Yufei's body. Instead, it started to run on its own, and began to pull various wood-type spiritual energy from the outside world into Yufei's tree body at a faster speed than at the beginning. As the speed of the Yuanmu Zenju was getting faster and faster like a wild horse, the speed at which it pulled the external wood-type spiritual energy into Yufei's body was also getting faster and faster. After entering Yufei's body, these wood-type spiritual energy was quickly transformed into Yuan Lingwood Key, but the problem arose again. The Yuanmu Zenju seemed to be full now, and no longer absorbed the Yuan Lingwood Key. This was actually the reason why Yufei's state of mind had not reached a higher level. The Yuan Muzenju, which could have taken this opportunity to advance quickly, could only be stuck at this level. But the Yuan Muzenju no longer absorbed the Yuan Lingwood Key, but still pulled the external spiritual energy to be infused into Yufen's body, and the speed was getting faster and faster. These newly transformed Yuan Lingwood Key wanted to accumulate in Yufen's body, but they found that Yufen's body was already full of Yuan Lingwood Key, and there was really no place for them. What should I do? The only way is to squeeze it. Yufen's consciousness soon felt that his tree trunk began to swell, more than at the beginning. More and more spiritual energy, more and more. Soon, even hard squeezing can't squeeze it in. If it continues like this, Yufen will explode. And as we all know, the protagonist with the protagonist's halo will naturally turn danger into safety when encountering danger, and Yufen, as the protagonist, is of course no exception. As one of the highest end energies in the world, Yuan Lingwood Key has the nature of creation. In this case, the newly influx and transformed Yuan Lingwood Key saw that it couldn't be squeezed in, so let's build a house by ourselves. The Yuan Lingwood Key exerted its creative characteristics, causing Yufen's body to expand rapidly like a balloon. THIS chapter is released on schedule, so those who have rewarded you will have to wait until tomorrow to see Hongchen's thanks. Chapter 93 Giant Tree. With the creation of the Yuan Lingwood Key, Yufen's tree body became larger and larger, and a larger tree body would accommodate more spiritual energy, and more Yuan Lingwood Key would be converted. In this way, the expanded space was still not enough for the Yuan Lingwood Key that later entered Yufen's body and was converted to live, so the Yuan Lingwood Key had to continue to expand the volume of Yufen's tree body. In this way, as time passed, Yufen's tree body, whether it was the trunk or the branches, gradually became extremely thick, and his height gradually climbed. As the body expanded, the wood grain in the body naturally continued to expand, and Yufen's traction on the external spiritual energy naturally increased. Soon, more and more wood-type spiritual energy wrapped around Yufen, forming the dark green mist group that Tyrant and the others saw in front. Yufen's consciousness was reflected in the temporary inability to control his body. He could only watch helplessly as he quickly grew from a tree more than 50 meters high to a tree more than 100 meters high, and it was still growing. At this time, the longest branch of Yufen's tree body also extended about 100 meters, and new branches continued to grow on his body. Now he can be regarded as a small forest. He instinctively felt that this was not good. If he continued to expand without limit, he would really become a big tree attracts the wind. If he grew to several thousand meters high, I'm afraid that people hundreds of kilometers away would be able to discover his uniqueness. At that time, I'm afraid that countless humans would come to explore, and then they would definitely conflict with the Night Elves. With his current strength, he still cannot fight against the human world. Thinking of this, Yufen began to try to control his body, but at this time, Yufen could not even release his mental power. How could he control the Yuan Muzenju that was already running at a terrifying speed? He could only watch his body grow taller and taller, and the branches also expanded to the surroundings. Crackling, cracks suddenly appeared on the ground around Yufen, and the soil and rocks continued to crack. What is going on? Soon, there were more and more cracks, and the larger and larger ground gave Yufen the answer to this question. Yufen's several roots suddenly jumped out of the cracks in the ground and began to meander on the ground. At the same time, they became as thick as the trunk and branches at a speed visible to the naked eye. Well, that's right. The tree trunk has grown bigger. If the roots don't expand, it will be blown down by a gust of wind. That's funny. The father god of the Night Elves was blown down by the wind. As Yufen's roots extended, several of his roots reached the area of the ancient protectors who took root around him. After being wrapped in the dark green mist, all the ancient protectors entered a state of sleep. But when Yufen's roots extended to where they were, they all woke up from their sleep. When Yufen's roots extended to the area where their roots were, the awakened ancient protectors entangled their roots with Yufen's roots, forming a root area like more than 50 satellite cities. After entangled with Yufen's roots, their bodies began to expand, gradually growing taller and thicker. Looking at all this happening in front of him, Yufen's consciousness couldn't help but open his mouth. Isn't this a tree city? Yufei couldn't help but imagine that if a tree city was really formed, the Night Elves would live here, and he would become the legendary world tree. It seemed that the ancient protectors would be one with him in the future. I wonder if the ancient protectors that were transformed later could also be connected. He would become a fortress with extremely powerful firepower in the future, and it would also be the place where all the Night Elves lived. The key point was that it seemed that he could still move. After all, the roots also expanded. In this way, it would be a powerful mobile war fortress. Yufei's tree trunk was still expanding, and it was now 400 or 500 meters high. The diameter of the trunk was also 40 or 50 meters. Some of the main branches that extended out were also very thick. At least there was no problem with horse racing. Those small branches could be intertwined and combined to form a treehouse and connected by some thicker trunks. It was clearly a city. However, if it continued to grow this long, there would really be problems. His current strength was still not strong enough. At least he had to wait until the buildings of the ancient tree level were built and the various OMs were formed to a certain scale before he could be exposed to the many races and forces of Slays. With Yufei feeling both happy and worried, his tree trunk continued to expand slowly and firmly. At the same time, Tyrant and the others were feeling uneasy. After all, although they have high intelligence, they were born by Yufei. It's so tangled to write this, and they haven't experienced too many things, so it can be said that they are not very independent. They have been acting under Yufei's guidance. When they have not received Yufei's instructions and cannot contact Yufei, they are still a little panicked. Fortunately, with the leadership of Tyrant, a hero, the Night Elves can continue to maintain a normal combat level and destroy waves of incoming monsters. Of course, the units affected by such emotions are elite units. Ordinary Night Elves can be said to be fighting machines. After losing the command of Yufei, the first authority, they will not be affected because there are still hero units of the second authority level, so their combat effectiveness will not be affected. This can also be regarded as an advantage of insufficient wisdom. This is not to say that elite units are not as stable as ordinary units in terms of combat effectiveness. It is just that, because they have a certain degree of wisdom, they will be affected by emotional factors, and their morale is a little low in this state. Conversely, when their morale is high, they will also exert stronger combat effectiveness, which is much better than ordinary units whose combat effectiveness has always been constant. Under Tyrant's command, the feral wolves and the Night Elves cooperated to quickly solve another wave of incoming intermediate monsters. This time, dealing with the monster siege also changed Tyrant greatly. In many previous battles, although Yufei had let Tyrant command by herself, Tyrant knew that the Father God was always paying attention and was not afraid of her own mistakes in command. Anyway, the Father God would definitely make up for it. But this time, there was no way to contact the Father God at all, and Tyrant commanded the battle completely by herself. As more and more monsters were killed, Tyrant gradually grew up, and her self-confidence increased a lot. However, a greater danger is approaching. Hongchen would like to say sorry first, although there are some reasons. It is a fact that the update is late. Hongchen had a quarrel with her mother because of writing a novel. I won't say too much about the content. As a result, Hongchen has run away from home and now lives in a classmate's house. Because of this reason and the impact on my mood, the update is late. Hongchen hasn't had lunch yet, and I finally finished this chapter. Everyone believe in Hongchen. I will never be a eunuch. I'm ready not to go to college. I just hope that everyone can understand and support Hongchen. Thank you. Thanks to Zuayu Zingan for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 94,000 lizards attack the city. Swoosh, an arrow shot through the neck of a giant horned deer that was fleeing towards the forest, nailing it to the trunk of a tree. Behind the giant horned deer, dozens of low and medium level monsters were lying on the ground. After a long wolf howl, dozens of wild wolves began to clean up the battlefield in an orderly manner. In fact, they dug out the magic crystals from the monsters' corpses, and then shared the delicious meat, and threw the unpalatable ones away. After a long breath, Tyrant put her bow back on her body. Another wave of monsters was solved. Although these low and medium level monsters did not cause any losses, it was really annoying to see them rushing over in groups. Tyrant looked back at the dark green mist, where Yufei was with concern. I don't know how the Father God's advancement is going. The Father God has not contacted me. Roar. A huge roar suddenly came from the distance, followed by countless smaller roars or hisses, forming a wave of sound, rushing towards the direction where Tyrande and the others were. Hearing these roars, Tyrande was startled. The huge single roar at the beginning was probably the 8th level peak monster that was felt from afar in front. Just by listening to the sound, this monster has too many younger brothers, right? After hearing the 2 roars, the wild wolves resting on the grass also pricked up their ears alertly and then quickly gathered in the wolf howl of the sacred giant wolf. On the Night Elf side, the archers and huntresses also quickly lined up their formations, ready to meet this wave of monsters that were difficult to deal with just by listening to the sound. More than 100 pairs of eyes stared at the forest in front of them nervously. As long as they can withstand this wave of monster siege, the crisis brought by Euphena's advancement this time will be almost resolved. Because this level 8 monster should be the strongest in this area, and higher level monsters all have their own sphere of influence, I'm afraid only the solitary earth bear is not like other high level monsters, and does not define its own sphere of influence. As long as the strongest in this area is dealt with, there is nothing to worry about. It's not a matter of whether the high level monsters in farther places are willing to come over. First of all, the attraction they receive will be much weaker at such a long distance. The originally noisy forest suddenly became quiet, and the insects that had been chirping all the time also stopped their sounds from far to near, as if something made them dare not show anything that would attract the attention of the beast. A breeze passed through, causing the leaves in the dense bushes to rustle. Suddenly, a shadow rushed out of the dense bushes, let out a hiss, and stopped in front of the wild wolf and the Night Elves. Looking closely, is it a khaki lizard? Immediately after this lizard, countless figures rushed out of the forest and stopped around this lizard. These figures were naturally lizards, but their colors were different, some yellow, some green, some red, and they had many different attributes. After the group of about 900 lizards stopped in front of the wild wolves and the Night Elves, they did not attack, but just stared at Tyrande and the others. After a few moments, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. There was a commotion among the lizards, and they separated to both sides, making way for a road. On the road, made by the lizards, several huge figures slowly walked out. The one leading the way was the peak level 8 magic beast that Tyrande had sensed. This was an ice blue giant lizard with 2 huge horns on its head, and it seemed to have some dragon blood. This frost dragon lizard kept emitting waves of cold air around it, showing its powerful strength. Behind the frost dragon lizard were 4 level 7 magic beasts. Of course, they were also lizards, but their attributes were different. The 2 red ones were obviously fire lizards, and the 2 khaki lizards looked somewhat similar, but upon closer inspection, one of them was just an ordinary level 7 earth lizard, the other one had a metallic luster, and seemed to be much stronger than ordinary lizards. Observing this luxurious camp, Tyrande couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Lizard species. It happened to be a lizard species. This is really great. A hint of excitement flashed across Tyrande's face, as if the nearly 1,000 lizard beasts in front of her could not cause her any trouble. The frost dragon lizard let out a huge roar at the camp of the wild wolves and the Night Elves. All the lizards gradually approached Tyrande and the others, but the frost dragon lizard and the other 4 high level lizards did not move at all, obviously thinking that these more than 900 lizard beasts were enough to deal with the wolves and upright creatures in front of them. Seeing the group of lizards surrounding them, the wild wolves were also in a commotion. Although these lizards are not as strong as the holy giant wolf, they are generally around level 4 or 5, and are about the same strength as the feral wolves. However, in terms of number, the lizards are more than 10 times the number of the feral wolves. There is no hope of victory at all. Even with the long-range attacks of the Night Elves behind them, the feral wolves, including the holy giant wolf, have no optimistic attitude towards the outcome of this battle. After all, the opponent still has an 8th level peak monster and 4 7th level monsters on the side. At the critical moment, these 5 giant lizards will definitely use their claws. At that time, even if there are 2 units with the strength of the holy giant wolf and Tyrande, which are equivalent to the 8th level, they are powerless to reverse the situation. However, looking at the hundreds of lizards surrounding them, Tyrande showed a relaxed smile. If it were other monsters, she would not be absolutely sure, but it happened to be a group of lizards. Tyrion whistled, and a red shadow swooped down from the sky, but it stopped in midair without landing, hovering over the heads of the feral wolves and the Night Elves. This red shadow was the little red dragon reared. After it landed from high in the sky above the heads of the wild wolves and the Night Elves, it released a special might, the dragon might unique to the dragon race. Dragon might is something that suppresses the strength and fighting spirit of all monsters, and lizard monsters and snake monsters are particularly affected. The hundreds of lizards surrounding Tyrion and the others originally had a ferocious look. Although they moved slowly, they all looked eager to try and were about to pounce. But when the little red dragon reared appeared and the dragon might was released, they all shuddered and a look of fear appeared on their long faces. More than 600 level 3 and 4 lizard monsters even had their legs softened and collapsed to the ground. Ow, thank you for your concern. Hanchin is also an adult. I will think about some things carefully. Thank you. Well, please give me some recommendation votes. It's almost over 10,000. I'm a little itchy. Thanks to the Passerby in Life and Passerby for 1888 starting coins, Jichin for 588 starting coins, and Zuioxingayan for 100 starting coins. Also, today is Chinese Valentine's Day. I wish you all a happy Chinese Valentine's Day. Chapter 95, Depressed Frost Dragon Lizard. As expected by Tyrion, the dragon power of the little red dragon reed played a great role. Compared with other types of magic beasts, these lizard-type magic beasts were more strongly suppressed by Reed's dragon power. Under Reed's dragon power, all the 3rd and 4th level lizard magic beasts collapsed to the ground, and the 5th and 6th level magic beasts were also greatly affected, and almost lost their combat effectiveness. Even under the dragon power of the little red dragon, the 5 high level magic beasts were also suppressed a lot. This can be seen from the trembling limbs of the 4 7th level lizard magic beasts and the wandering eyes of the frost dragon lizard. Compared with the giant dragons of the Slays continent, Reed's bloodline is much purer, so naturally its dragon power is qualitatively different. Dragon power is originally a special power brought by the dragon bloodline. The dragon power of the pure-blooded little red dragon Reed is even more powerful than the dragon power of an adult dragon on the Slays continent. The frost dragon lizard also has dragon blood, and its strength is much stronger than that of ordinary level 8 monsters, so it can have a place in the inner area of the monster mountain range. But after all, the frost dragon lizard is only a sub-dragon species. To put it bluntly, it is a hybrid to the dragons on the Slays continent. When a hybrid encounters the little red dragon red, whose blood is many times purer than that of ordinary genuine dragons, the blood suppression is particularly obvious. Originally, the frost dragon lizard, not to mention its younger brother, is almost the same as the earth bear in terms of individual strength, and is even stronger in terms of offensiveness and destructive power. After all, the earth bear is better at melee and defense, and the frost dragon lizard has extremely powerful magic attacks in addition to melee. But under the suppression of Red's dragon power, the strength of the frost dragon lizard can be said to be greatly reduced, and the same is true for the 4 level 7 lizard monsters behind it. This is the case for high level monsters, and the low and medium level lizard monsters naturally completely lose the ability to fight, and this battle has changed from a few against many to many against a few. If Yufei discovered this situation at this time, he would definitely think of a college entrance examination essay topic. Between role changes, the ups and downs of this wolf life are really exciting. The wild wolves were all suddenly refreshed. They thought they were dead this time. Under the siege of nearly 1,000 lizard monsters, they thought that only a few horror wolves and their leader, the sacred giant wolf, could survive. Unexpectedly, when the little red dragon reared appeared, the aura of the cuckold overflowed, and the enemy surrendered directly. All this made the wild wolves extremely excited, and the morale of the night elves behind them also suddenly increased a lot. Now, only the enemy leader is still ready to fight stubbornly, but there is nothing to be afraid of. They can choose to fight alone, or in a group. As for the classic explanation of fighting alone, and in a group, the wolves naturally understand it without saying it. They often do this when hunting in the past. The low and medium level lizard beasts had been frightened by Reed's dragon might and were paralyzed, posing no threat. However, under Tyrion's command, the wild wolves and the night elves did not use their claws or hands to attack these low and medium level lizard beasts that seemed to have no resistance. Although these beasts seemed to have no power to resist, who knew whether they would resist the suppression of the dragon's might and get up to fight under the threat of death? If so, it would be another reversal, which would be painful. The sacred giant wolf took the lead and surrounded the 5 high-level beasts. Under the suppression of the dragon's might, several high-level lizard beasts seemed a little restless, and this restlessness could not help but be vented when the wild wolves surrounded them. The first to attack was of course the boss, the frost dragon lizard. The frost dragon lizard with the blood of the frost dragon was extremely good at water magic, or more accurately, ice magic. Before it made any moves, an ice ring exploded in the wolf pack, affecting nearly 1/3 of the wild wolves. The killing power of this ice ring magic was not bad, and it did not kill any of the wild wolves, but the freezing and slowing effect of the ice system was extremely disgusting. The wild wolves affected by the ice ring became extremely slow in their movement and attack speeds for a period of time, and their movements became stiff, almost useless in the battle. Seeing this situation, Terran simply let all the wild wolves retreat, leaving only the sacred giant wolf and 9 horror wolves to fight against the 5 high-level monsters. The 10 giant wolves and 5 giant lizards quickly fought together, forming a battle circle. And this big battle circle was divided into 5 small battle circles. The sacred giant wolf faced the frost dragon lizard, and the 9 horror wolves were divided into 4 groups to face 4 level 7 giant lizards respectively. Let's not talk about the battle between the sacred giant wolf and the frost dragon lizard. Among the 4 level 7 giant lizards, the giant lizard with a metallic luster on its body was the most powerful. One lizard fought 3 horror wolves in a lively manner. Each of the other 3 giant lizards faced 2 terror wolves, just in time to distribute the opponents. Although the terror wolf is 1 level lower than the level 7 giant lizard, it has an advantage in numbers. In addition to the skills it has, and the fact that the giant lizards are suppressed by the dragon's might, 9 terror wolves actually suppressed 4 level 7 giant lizards. There is nothing to say about the southern side of the sacred giant wolf. Once the sacred protection is activated, and the fire of the soul of the kobold fortune teller is blessed, the sacred giant wolf does not have to worry about the attack of the frost dragon lizards at all, and it attacks the frost dragon lizards head on. The frost dragon lizard is also frustrated. Originally, I thought I would bring a group of younger brothers and I don't have to fight myself, but the opponent actually has a giant dragon. And this giant dragon looks like a young dragon, but the dragon's might is so dignified that even I'm greatly affected. In this way, the younger brothers are useless. Originally, I was fighting against others, but now it has become a group of people fighting me. The frost dragon lizard is so depressed. The frost dragon lizard did think about killing Little Red, but Little Red had been hovering in the air under Tyrant's warning, and was very alert. If the frost dragon lizard casts high level magic, it will definitely be dodged, because the casting time is too long. If it casts low level magic, Little Red's magic immunity talent is not vegetarian. Besides, the frost dragon lizard itself has its concerns. The dragons are all a group of flawed guys. If I really kill this Little Red dragon, there may be a few old dragons coming out to hunt me down. Although I also have some dragon blood, the frost dragon lizard knows clearly that sub-dragons like it have a very low status in the dragon clan. If I kill a pure-blooded dragon, I will definitely be asterisk 100 times 100 times. There is only one update in the past 2 days. I'm sorry for everyone. Hongchan apologizes to everyone. I will try to update twice today. After it stabilizes, Hongchan will add more. I will strongly promote it next week. Hongchan will explode. Please support me. Thank you for the reward of 5888 Kidian coins for 1 day without shitting on the room. 1888 Kidian coins for post-era VB. 1764 Kidian coins for the wind roaring. 588 Kidian coins for Zaogian. 100 Kidian coins for Blood Moon and Star Meteorite, and 100 Kidian coins for HTTP. It is said that these are all from the 23rd. Is it the benefit of Kixi Festival, or did you know that I ran away from home and donated money to me? I almost forgot that with your support, the recommendation votes have exceeded 10,000. Hongchan would like to thank you. You can leave a message on the congratulation post in the book review area to get experience. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 Ice Breath. The holy giant wolf that pounced on him made the frost dragon lizard even more depressed. This damn golden giant wolf was only at the beginning or middle stage of level 8. Normally, it would have no power to resist under the hands of a peak level 8 monster with dragon blood. But after being suppressed by the blood pressure of the red dragon, its strength was only at the middle or late stage of level 8, so the gap in strength was much narrower. However, even so, the frost dragon lizard was still confident that it could get rid of the holy giant wolf. In melee combat, the frost dragon lizard with dragon blood would not lose to the melee monsters of the same level. And its magic attack was also very powerful. The control of ice magic was second to none among many types of magic. With its strong body, the frost dragon lizard was indeed a rare opponent in the same level. But this golden giant wolf was too disgusting. The golden wolf was wrapped in a layer of golden light waves, and a thin dog-headed monster behind the enemy added a light shadow. Looking at the two layers of defense on the holy giant wolf with the same color as its fur, the frost dragon lizard was speechless. There is no need to be so afraid of death, right? After all, it is an 8th level monster. It has already made itself look like a turtle before the fight begins. It is too embarrassing. The frost dragon lizard, also a level 8 unit, felt deeply ashamed of the holy giant wolf's behavior. Naturally, it did not hold back when it used its claws. It used all its physical strength to attack the holy giant wolf's head. The frost dragon lizard and the earth bear made the same mistake. They both attacked the holy giant wolf's head at the beginning. Clang, a sound of metal clashing, came from the intersection of the holy giant wolf's head and the frost dragon lizard's claws. You know, when the holy guardian was not activated, and the heart fire was not blessed, the earth bear's full strength palm on the holy giant wolf's head only made the holy giant wolf dizzy for a while. Now, under the dual effects of holy guardian and heart fire, the holy giant wolf seemed to have not felt the attack of the frost dragon lizard. When the frost dragon lizard slapped its head with its claws, it took the opportunity to launch a holy combo at the frost dragon lizard, whose chest was exposed due to its claws. The sound of a sharp weapon piercing through leather, blood splashing, and then a painful hissing resounded throughout the forest. The holy combo skill was excellent in both defense breaking effect and lethality. 5 consecutive swift attacks hit the chest of the frost dragon lizard almost at the same second, tearing open its tough scales and causing it great damage. The injury on the chest was very serious, but for the frost dragon lizard, which had dragon blood and extremely strong vitality, this injury would not have any impact on the next battle, but only made it fall into a state of rage. Opening its mouth towards the holy giant wolf in front of it, the frost dragon lizard sprayed out a deep blue mist. This was the breath of the frost dragon lizard. The dragon bloodline of the frost dragon lizard is quite good, so it can use dragon breath. Ordinary ground dragons don't have the talent to breathe. Whether or not to spray dragon breath is also a criterion for distinguishing pseudo-dragons from sub-dragons. As soon as the frost dragon lizard exhaled this breath, the temperature around it dropped a lot. A lot of ice crystals condensed in the air that was a little closer and fell on the grass, causing a layer of white frost to condense on the grass. The 9 terror wolves and 4 level 7 giant lizards that were fighting all shuddered and tacitly moved the 4 small battle circles away from the frost dragon lizard. Under the icy breath, the holy giant wolf thirsted up, and it felt a great threat. Apart from anything else, just looking at the frost dragon lizard's weak state after exhaling, it is clear that this icy breath is definitely not easy to bear. This is indeed the case. Sub-dragons like the frost dragon lizard cannot breathe freely like real dragons. For real dragons, breathing is like spitting, and they can spit a lot, but for sub-dragons, breathing is like shooting seamen, and one shot will be very tiring. Fortunately, perhaps for this reason, the sub-dragon's breath is stronger than that of ordinary dragons. After all, the quality of semen is much stronger than saliva. Although it now has the dual defense enhancement of Holy Guardian and Heartfire, the Holy Giant Wolf is obviously not ready to test the law and take the breath of the Frost Dragon Lizard head on. With a twist of the waist, the Holy Giant Wolf almost avoided the breath with its swift speed. But since it is almost, it means that it did not completely avoid it. The speed of the frost dragon lizard's breath is also very fast. Although the holy giant wolf tried its best to avoid it, it was still touched a little by the icy breath. Of course, just a little touch can't cause any major damage to the holy wolf, but it has achieved the result that the frost dragon lizard wanted. The holy wolf's body suddenly became stiff, and it seemed that its movement speed and attack speed had dropped significantly. Holy Guardian and Heartfire both greatly increase the defense of the affected unit, and are not defensive skills such as protective shields. So after being touched by the icy breath, the holy wolf naturally entered a double reduction state, which was troublesome. The holy wolf's strength was not as good as the frost dragon lizard, and it was only with its agile body and the blessing of 2 defensive skills that it could fight the frost dragon lizard. Now its biggest advantage, extremely fast movement speed and attack speed, have disappeared under the influence of the icy breath, and it is definitely not a match for the frost dragon lizard. Tyrande in the back raised her eyebrows, moved her mind, and ordered the kobold fortune teller to take action. The dog-headed fortune teller pointed his staff, and the body of the sacred giant wolf suddenly expanded, and soon became twice its original size. There was also a red light flickering on its 2 front paws. The dog-headed fortune teller blessed the sacred giant wolf with bloodthirstiness. The sacred giant wolf blessed with bloodthirstiness felt that the blood in its body that was originally condensed by the icy breath suddenly boiled, and the negative effects of the icy breath were swept away, and even the attack speed increased a lot. It couldn't help but sigh secretly. This bloodthirstiness is really a good art for promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis, dredge meridians and meridians, and is suitable for home and travel for all ages. The frost dragon lizard had already pounced on it with a vicious look. In its mind, the sacred giant wolf affected by the icy breath would be ravaged by it under the double reduction effect, but the opponent's small dog-headed man waved his staff, and the golden giant wolf seemed to be completely unaffected by the icy breath, and continued to fight with it at a very fast speed. Okay, Hongchen has to apologize again. I didn't update twice yesterday, but Hongchen will definitely update the second time at 6 PM today. Thanks to Zuioxingan for 100 starting coins and Shwilin for 100 starting coins. Chapter 97, The Surrendered Monitor Lizard. Without the double reduction effect brought by the icy breath, the sacred giant wolf can still fight the frost dragon lizard suppressed by the dragon's might within the duration of the sacred guard skill. However, although the duration of the sacred guard is not short, Tyrande has no intention of delaying time. While ordering other night elves to attack the frost dragon lizard, she has already shot a burning arrow at the frost dragon lizard. There is nothing much to say about the following battle. Under the bombardment of Tyrande, Avril, Luna and many ranged soldiers, the frost dragon lizard entangled by the sacred giant wolf finally released an 8th level magic ice and snow, killing several wild wolves and 2 female hunters who could not dodge in time, and finally fell down unwillingly. As for the other 4 small battle circles, there is nothing else but the combat power of the 7th level giant lizard with a metallic luster on its body. Surprised Tyrande a little. This giant lizard seems to be made of metal. The claws of the horror wolf scratch it and make a metal collision sound, leaving no damage. If it weren't for the advantage of speed and the convenience of flexible body shape, as well as the threat posed by the horror combo to the giant lizard, I'm afraid the 3 horror wolves would not be able to resist the giant lizard at all. But now that their boss, the frost dragon lizard, has been dealt with, the 4 level 7 giant lizards naturally can't make any waves. After the holy giant wolf joined the battle, the 4 level 7 giant lizards were defeated one by one. But at Tyrande's signal, the holy giant wolf did not kill the 4 giant lizards. After defeating them, it did not kill them all. Then Tyrande stepped forward and began to communicate with the 4 giant lizards. These lizard beasts cannot be killed completely, of course. Tyrande and her team do not have the strength to kill them all. If these nearly 1,000 lizard beasts are forced into a corner, the wild wolves and the night elves will be finished. You know, although the dragon's might has a strong oppressive force on these lizard beasts, facing the threat of death, who cares about your bloodline suppression? They will definitely fight to the death. Tyrande didn't expect to take these lizard beasts for her own use. Apart from other things, at least when these beasts gather together, food becomes a problem. These lizard beasts usually have their own small territory, so they don't have to worry about food. This time, they gathered together under the call of the frost dragon lizard to attack the feral wolves and the night elves. The assembled lizard army took half a day to trek here. Many lizard beasts were already hungry. The night elves obviously couldn't supply these lizards with food, so there was no need to take them for her own use. Another thing is that Euphony will soon be upgraded to the ancient tree. By then, the strength of the night elves will be greatly enhanced, and various new arms will appear, so there will be no need for these external forces. Besides, why should those lizard beasts rise and fall with the night elves? Just because there is a little red dragon here? Even in the world of Warcraft, where the strong prey on the weak, there is no such a cheap thing. If this is possible, wouldn't those so-called dragon riders be able to raise an army of monsters by themselves? After Tyrant's communication, the 4 level 7 giant lizards understood the meaning of the enemy leader. Tyrant hoped that they would restrain the low-level lizard monsters to protect Euphony, so that they could be spared later. Otherwise, they would be killed now, and the magic crystal would be dug out. After the frost dragon lizard was dealt with, the metal giant lizard became the strongest among the lizard monsters. The remaining 2 level 7 fire giant lizards, and 1 level 7 earth giant lizard all took it as their leader. This metal giant lizard was very sensible. Now their lives depended on the opponent's thoughts. The situation was stronger than that of the lizard. The metal lizards agreed to Tyrant's request. After all, there was a little red dragon above them. The wisdom of high-level monsters was no worse than that of humans. Seeing that they tried the noble blood of Little Red first, they unconsciously began to imagine, and the content of their imagination was far from the truth. Under the threat of losing their lives and the influence of the truth they imagined, the 4 level 7 lizards obediently obeyed Tyrant's command. After all, it was just to guard here for a while, which was not a difficult task. Indeed, it was difficult for Tyrant and her team to guard this place because of their lack of endurance, but it was easy for nearly 1,000 lizard monsters to guard this grassland. Sure enough, after that, the scattered attacking monsters were solved by the lizards without Tyrant and her team taking action. Tyrant was only responsible for letting the wild wolf dig out the magic crystal of the death monster. Originally, Tyrant was still planning to let the night elves participate in the battle. After all, these monsters could bring some experience to the night elves. But something happened during this period, which made Tyrant lose interest in commanding the battle. The body of the frost dragon lizard was thrown on the spot after the magic crystal was dug out. Such a large body was extremely difficult for even the holy wolf to move, so it was simply left there. And this is where the situation came from. The little red dragon Red played a decisive role in this battle. Tyrant was about to praise Little Red, but found that Little Red ran to the body of the frost dragon lizard and feasted on it. Tyrant smiled slightly and didn't care. Anyway, the body of the frost dragon lizard was useless. If Little Red wanted to eat, let him eat it. It was a reward for the hero. Although Tyrant has high wisdom, she has encountered too few things after all. If Euphony was here, he would never let Little Red eat the body of the frost dragon lizard. Those who have read YA novels know the principle of attribute restraint. Little Red is a red dragon of the fire system, but the frost dragon lizard happens to be an ice monster that restrains the fire system. Rashly devouring the body of the frost dragon lizard, under the influence of opposing attributes, will definitely not be a good thing. But Tyrant has never read YA novels. Naturally, she doesn't know these. Tyrant also considered it. In her opinion, the frost dragon lizard is also a dragon with dragon blood. After devouring its corpse, perhaps Little Red can grow up earlier and become more powerful. She was influenced by the fact that the forest wolves devoured the corpses of tree demons to evolve. It can be said that Tyrant's calculations are also very good. After Little Red advances, not only will its own dragon strength be enhanced, but the durability aura will also be upgraded. At that time, the overall strength of the wild wolves and the night elves will also be significantly improved. But about half an hour after Little Red devoured the body of the frost dragon lizard, something bad happened. Finally, I kept my promise and this chapter was released on time. Thank you for the reward of 588 starting coins for not happy to read it all, and 100 starting coins for Blood Moon Star Meteorite. Chapter 98 Little Red's Pain. After the little red dragon swallowed the body of the frost dragon lizard, perhaps it was full, and it lay on the grass behind Tyrant, close to the dark green mist, where Euphony was, and seemed to be digesting it. Tyrant has been concerned about whether the lizard army can resist the attacking monsters. Seeing that Little Red was digesting it, she didn't pay attention to it until Little Red was lying in the grass digesting, and gradually, he felt a cold breath rising in his body and running around in his body. At first, these cold breaths didn't make Little Red feel anything, but felt cool and comfortable. But after a while, as the body of the frost dragon lizard continued to digest in Little Red's body, the cold breath became stronger and stronger, which gave Little Red a completely different feeling. As a purebred fire red dragon, Little Red's body is full of extremely powerful fire element. In particular, Little Red absorbed the fire element in the egg for a long time before he was born, which made Little Red, although he was only a red dragon that was born not long ago, have a very sufficient amount of fire element in his body. The ice element produced after the frost dragon lizard's corpse was digested ran wild in Little Red's body. The fire element, which was opposed to the ice and water element, naturally could not tolerate it and began to suppress the ice element spontaneously. Although the fire element in Little Red's body was powerful, the frost dragon lizard was, after all, an 8th level peak dragon, and there were also many ice element in its corpse. And as the frost dragon lizard's corpse continued to digest, the ice element was still being produced, which made the ice element full of stamina, and was not afraid of the huge fire element in Little Red's body. The two opposing elements began a fierce battle in Little Red's body, and Little Red suffered. The battle between the two elements in his body made Little Red feel like there were two knives stirring and cutting in his body. The unspeakable pain made Little Red involuntarily let out a dragon roar. After this dragon roar, Tyrant discovered that something was wrong with Little Red. At this time, as the ice element continued to evolve, the battle between the ice element and the fire element in Little Red's body had become white hot, and even from its appearance, it could be seen. Little Red was originally fiery red, but now there were some places on his body that could faintly see some blue light flashing. This was the gradually powerful ice element. Around these blue areas, Little Red's skin changed from fiery red to a deeper dark red, which was the fire element in Little Red's body that gathered to encircle and suppress the ice element. The collision of the two elements made Little Red's pain difficult to suppress, and it finally couldn't help but release this pain. Bang! A deep mark was smashed on the ground, which was the result of Little Red's dragon tail whipping the ground. Then, Little Red began to roll on the ground, and the dragon claws and dragon tail kept hitting the surrounding grass. Fortunately, the archer and the huntress both joined the battle and left Little Red, otherwise it would definitely be affected in this situation. Tyrant looked at Little Red, who was in great pain, and was also very anxious. Since Tyrant was summoned by Yuffie, she has not had any contact with other people. She is surrounded by Night Elves and Wolves. Among the Night Elves, she must maintain her dignity as a leader. She does not even communicate much with Avril and Luna. As for the Wild Wolves, Tyrant, who rarely communicates with ordinary Night Elves, only commands them in battle, and there is no other communication. In this way, Tyrant naturally has no close companions. Because the first person Red saw when he was born was Tyrant, he recognized her as his mother. After a period of awkwardness, Tyrant, who has little experience, although not as exaggerated as a child, also regards Ret as her companion, and is naturally very concerned about Ret. In the battle with the Earth Bear, Ret did not participate in the battle. In addition to not causing much damage, Tyrant also had a little selfishness in it. Now Ret has been tortured by the ice and fire element, and is in extreme pain. Tyrant is worried about Ret, and has a little regret in her heart. I should have stopped Little Red from eating the body of the frost dragon lizard, so that this situation would not happen now. At this time, Tyrant was at a loss for a moment in the face of Little Red's situation. In fact, Little Red would not be in any danger. After all, the ice element contained in the body of the frost dragon lizard was limited. Its magic crystal had been dug out long ago. With the powerful digestive power of the dragon, the body of the frost dragon lizard would soon be digested. After the ice element was exhausted, it could not resist the accumulation of fire element in Little Red for more than 20 years. However, in this case, after the ice and fire element were neutralized, the fire element in Little Red's body would be reduced a lot, and the growth rate would also be slowed down a lot. You know, because when it was still an egg, Little Red absorbed countless fire element in the crater, which made it not need energy accumulation, and the growth rate was naturally very fast. It was only 2 days after it was born, and it was the size of an ordinary young dragon. Perhaps there was also the factor that Little Red was a red dragon in Warcraft instead of an ordinary red dragon. But after the fire element in the body was neutralized in large quantities, Little Red could not grow at such a fast speed, which was also a pity. Tyrion didn't know this. Seeing the pain of Little Red, she even thought that this little red dragon, who was only 2 days old, was going to die. But the disadvantage of Warcraft skills is that unlike the general alien world, each energy has a system. Although Tyrion also has the skill of Burning Arrow, which is considered a fire skill, she has no knowledge of the fire element, so naturally she can't help Little Red. She can only walk to Little Red at risk and comfort Little Red, who is still rolling on the ground with words. Fortunately, there is now a lizard army to help the Night Elves resist the incoming monsters. Otherwise, without Tyrion's command, the Wild Wolves and the Night Elves will not be able to stop the waves of monsters that come one after another. Obviously, the pain of Little Red, who had fallen into a manic state, could not be stopped by Tyrion's words of comfort alone. However, because of his feelings for his mother, Little Red still retained a trace of rationality and avoided Tyrion during the bombardment of the ground. Tyrion looked at Little Red's reaction and felt distressed again. Father God, please save Little Red. You gave it the name. Please save it. Tyrion prayed silently. Suddenly, the dark green mist behind Little Red suddenly released a dark green gas and floated towards Little Red. Ahem. Everyone knows that Hankchan is running away from home, and it is really difficult to update stably. I will update another chapter in the evening. Can you ask for some rewards? Hankchan has prepared to live out her life. My mother doesn't want me to write a book. She hasn't even called me in 5 days. Please give me a reward so that Hankchan can receive it on the 15th of next month and have money to live on. Thank you star for the reward of 100 starting coins. Recommended books. Chapter 99, Tree City and the Ancient Guardian. After this wisp of dark green mist floated to Little Red trembled violently, and the dragon's tail hit the ground again, then stopped rolling and fainted. What is this? Did the Father God wake up? Tyrion had a question in her mind, but soon she was no longer confused, because Euphony had contacted her with his mental power and told her not to worry about Little Red anymore. Back to Euphony. The continuous expansion of the tree made Euphony very worried, but soon he was relieved, because he found that the various wood-type spiritual energy that was constantly poured into his body had begun to gradually decrease, and the converted Yuanling wood energy was also gradually decreasing, so the expansion speed of the tree slowed down. Think about it, and you will understand that the wood-type spiritual energy is not endless. Although there is a forest around here, and the wood-type spiritual energy is extremely sufficient, it is still limited. The wood-type spiritual energy in this area has been absorbed, or it has been extracted almost arbitrarily, and the wood-type spiritual energy farther away is really unsustainable due to the distance factor, so the converted Yuanling wood energy has also decreased. This situation made Euphony quite happy. If he continued like this, his expansion should gradually stop. However, looking at his body, that was already more than 600 meters tall, Euphony was speechless. How dare he not be so powerful? This guy's really a tree that attracts the wind, sure enough. Not long after Euphony made his judgment, the wood-type spiritual energy stopped pouring into Euphony's tree body, because the free wood-type spiritual energy around him had been absorbed. As for the spiritual energy contained in the trees, Yuan Muzenchu is not an evil skill that devours, so naturally it does not extract the wood-type spiritual energy in the trees. In this way, the expansion of Euphony's tree body finally stopped. At this time, Euphony's body was estimated to have exceeded 700 meters in height. If it were on Earth, I would be the tallest tree in the world, right? Euphony thought. I'm now over 700 meters tall. I have countless younger brothers, and there is an uncollected gold mine. I can also be called tall, handsome and rich, right? But the height is a bit over the standard. The branches extending from Euphony's body are as far as 500 meters away. In this way, it is extremely inconsistent with the gardening standards, but it has become fat and round. But Yufei doesn't care about it. After all, it is a tree, so why worry about human aesthetics? On the contrary, Yufei is quite happy with the current situation of his tree. First of all, the height of Yufei's tree is not more than 1,000 meters as he expected. In this case, his tree can still be barely blocked by the mountains of the Warcraft mountain range. Secondly, the expanded tree makes him a tree city, allowing Night Elves to live on him. Although from the perspective of the ring diameter, the branches extending from Yufei only occupy less than 1 square kilometer in total, but this is 3-dimensional. I'm afraid that tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of elves can live on it. Of course, the size of the mountain giant is another matter. Speaking of which, Yufei's body at this time can really withstand the mountain giant living on it. Because his main branches are even tens of meters thick, although the width will be reduced as a passage, it is enough to withstand the activities of the mountain giant. Yufei did not expect that the changes brought by Yuan Muzenchu would be so powerful that he could become so huge. However, the expanding tree trunk also caused some problems. That is, it would be very difficult for Yufei to move in the future. Although his root system also became extremely strong when the tree trunk expanded, even when Yufei stood up from the soil, the feet formed by the roots could support his huge body. However, the feet being able to support does not mean that the ground can support it. Okay, according to the physical rule, that the larger the force area, the smaller the pressure, making the foot bigger can support the ground, but there is still a problem. There are more than 50 satellite cities on Yufei's roots, that is, the 54 ancient protectors entangled with Yufei. No, they should be called ancient guardians at this time. These ancient protectors would not have changed after Yufei's advancement, but when Yufei mutated, they entangled with Yufei's roots like parasitic plants, causing some of the Yuan Lingwood Ki to pour into them, causing some changes in them, and their names changed from ancient protectors to ancient guardians. The size of the 54 ancient guardians expanded significantly after Yufei's roots entangled them. The original 9 elite ancient protectors were now about 200 meters tall and became elite ancient guardians. The original ordinary ancient protectors were also about 100 meters tall and became ordinary ancient guardians. However, they were not like Yufei, with branches extending far away and their bodies looking relatively thin. These ancient guardians were tightly entangled with Yufei, and if Yufei stood up, he would drag them up as well. This is really troublesome. Yufei complained in his heart, but he was more secretly happy. It's a hassle, but it can still be moved after all, so it really becomes a mobile war fortress after Yufei's mental investigation. Although these ancient guardians seem to have not advanced in level, their essence has changed greatly, and they are not the same level species as the ancient protectors. First of all, the extremely tall tree body allows the ancient guardians to condense more earth element, and the condensed stones have greatly increased in volume and hardness. This means an increase in attack power. Sure enough, on the attribute panel, the attack power of these ancient guardians has increased by 2 stars compared to when they were ancient protectors. And the attack speed has changed from slow to medium. This may be because after the roots have become more, the speed of the ancient guardians absorbing earth element has become faster. Yufei tested it and found that, after becoming an ancient guardian, there was also a negative effect. Because the roots and Yufei were entangled together, the ancient guardians had lost the ability to stand up and move. But it doesn't matter, you can drag them along when you move. Yufei was about to explore the other aspects of the ancient guardian when a prayer sounded from outside the thin dark green mist. Is it Tyrant? What happened? Is she praying to him? Yufei sensed it and found Little Red, who was in pain. With a thought, a wisp of Yuan Lingwood Ki was released by Yufei and floated onto Little Red. Okay, this should be considered the chapter from last night. It is only released now. Thanks to the Sleepy Pig for the reward of 5888 starting coins. Thanks to K-Tao Cheyenne Lan for 588 starting coins. Find Slippers for 100 starting coins. Blood Moon Starfall for 100 starting coins. And Warcraft Yang Zio for 100 starting coins. Although there are rewards from these book friends, Hongchen still asks for rewards because this is asking for living expenses, and running away from home can't afford it. By the way, I also want to thank K-Tao Cheyenne Lan for 6,000 word update tickets, which should be enough. New book. Hongchen has read the manuscript and pushed it down. Chapter 100 Purple Dragon Little Red. With the help of this wisp of Yuan Lingwood Key, the ice and fire element in Xiao Red's body stopped colliding and neutralizing, and instead gradually became balanced under the action of Yuan Lingwood Key. In fact, this involves the bloody 5-element theory. It is easy to see that water produces wood, and wood produces fire. After the addition of Yuan Lingwood Key, it just acts as a bridge between the ice element and the fire element, making Xiao Red no longer seem so painful. However, a new problem has arisen. The ice element contained in the body of the frost dragon lizard is still too little, which can be seen from the fact that the red color occupies most of Xiao Red's appearance at this time. If one side is too dominant, even if there is Yuan Lingwood Key to adjust, the side with too much advantage will quickly expel the opposing element. In this process, neutralization will naturally occur. In that case, wouldn't Yufei's hope of releasing Yuan Lingwood Key for treatment be in vain? Yufei would not do such a big spoiler, so he naturally started to think of a way. If the ice element is not enough, you can supplement it. However, judging by the fire element that Little Red had been infused with for more than 20 years in the crater, a small amount of ice element would definitely be difficult to balance with it. So, Yufei gritted his teeth and passed a message to Tyrande. Hearing the order of the father god, Tyrande was also stunned. After hesitating for a while, she still followed Yufei's instructions and took out the frost dragon lizard magic crystal that she had put away and prepared to offer to Yufei, and walked towards Little Red. This 8th level magic crystal can convert 50,000 units of energy. Tyrande also sighed in her heart. But after all, it was Yufei's order, and Tyrande herself wanted to save Little Red, so she quickly walked in front of Little Red and asked the frost dragon lizard's magic crystal to be stuffed into Little Red's dragon mouth. With Tyrande's whispered comfort, Little Red obediently swallowed the frost dragon lizard's magic crystal. After a while, the 8th level ice magic crystal that entered Little Red's body began to release extremely large ice element. As the magic crystals were consumed, more and more ice element were produced in Little Red's body. From the outside, it looked like the blue part of his body was increasing, and gradually it occupied a place on his body. The continuous release of ice element also stimulated the fire element hidden in Little Red's body. The two element of ice and fire started a tug-of-war in Little Red's body, but because of the coordination of the Yuan Lingwood Key, there was no collision and neutralization. In this tug-of-war, the two elements that were originally incompatible began to gradually mix together under the action of the bridge of the Yuan Lingwood Key. Finally, the ice and fire element in Little Red's body reached a critical point. After the two elements shrank suddenly, they merged together through the Prophet model. And Little Red's body also changed. Naturally, it was not a strange half blue and half red appearance. According to the principle of color science, Little Red became a purple color after a mixture of red and blue. In other words, Little Red was no longer a red dragon at this time, but a purple dragon. No way. Purple dragon? This seems to have gone to Heroes of Might and Magic again. Forget it. Let's just look at the attributes directly. Yufei began to use his mental power to check on Little Red, who had turned into a purple dragon. Growing purple dragon, red, special unit, attack type, chaos attack range. 150 attack speed, fast attack power, movement speed, fast armor type, heavy armor, HP, mana, features, intermediate scorching breath. The purple dragon's breath is extremely hot, and each attack causes the target to continuously receive medium burning damage for 12 seconds. Intermediate cold scales. The purple dragon's scales are extremely cold, and enemies within a 50-meter range will be affected by a 20% reduction in movement speed. Intermediate magic immunity. Immune to the effects of level 6, cloud level, and below magic. Weakening the effects of magic above level 6, and the degree of weakening depends on the power of the magic, including buff magic. Primary devouring. The purple dragon can directly devour a creature of level 6 or below that meets the size requirements. Skills. Explosive breath. Consumes a small amount of magic points, causing the purple dragon's breath to cause 250% of the damage of normal attacks, with an additional 50% splash effect. Ice breath. Consumes a small amount of magic points, causing the purple dragon's breath to cause 200% of the damage of normal attacks, with an additional effect of reducing attack speed by 25% and movement speed by 25%. Ice Flame Storm. The purple dragon releases powerful ice and fire element, and through the collision and explosion of the two element, it strikes an area. The casting range is 600 meters, the spell range is 50 x 50 meters, consumes 300 magic points, and the casting interval is half an hour. Durable Aura. Increases the movement speed of friendly forces within a range of 400 meters by 20% and the attack speed by 10%. After devouring the corpse and magic crystal of the frost dragon lizard, the fire element in Zio Red's body was also stimulated, and he naturally advanced to the growth stage. According to Euphena's speculation, Zio Red will soon enter the young dragon stage, and his strength will be greatly improved by then. Like the appearance, Little Red's type has changed from a red dragon to a purple dragon, and his attributes have changed greatly. First of all, it is essential to enhance the attack power, armor, health, magic points and attack range comprehensively, and the increase is not small. When advancing to the growth stage, Little Red's Scorching Breath and Magic Immunity talents have become intermediate, and there are two more talents, Intermediate Cold Scales and Primary Devouring. The Cold Scales talent is obviously brought by the Frost Dragon Lizard, and Devouring is a talent that all dragons in Warcraft have. In Euphena's opinion, the Cold Scales talent is not bad, but Devouring seems to be useless, purely for scaring people. Looking at the skills again, the attributes of the Explosive Breath have been enhanced to a certain extent, and the attack power increase has changed from 200% to 250%. This is an attack increase after deducting defense, and the actual damage has been increased a lot. In addition to the increase in the range of the durable aura by 100 meters, the increase in movement speed and attack speed has also doubled, which further enhances the overall strength of the Night Elves. There are also two newly added skills. Ice Breath and Ice Flame Storm are obviously the skills brought by the Frost Dragon Lizard, but one does not combine with the fire element, and the other combines with the fire element. The attack increase of Ice Breath is not as high as that of Explosive Fire Breath, but the double reduction effect is very practical, especially when paired with Little Red's new talent Cold Scale Armor. It will be difficult for enemies who are close to Little Red to escape. As for Ice Flame Storm, this is a group attack magic, but the skill description is very vague, and it is unknown how powerful it is. It seems that Little Red seems to have a tendency to turn to magic again. At THANKS2LZC 880,210, 100 starting coins. Panpun's Brother 100 starting coins, and Blood Moon Star Meteorite 100 starting coins for the rewards. As for the two 6,000 word urging pictures of the post-era VB, I can't guarantee tomorrow. Please reward. Help me. Everyone knows. By the way, this is the 100th chapter, and the number of chapters has exceeded 3 digits. Please encourage me recommend books. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.